Okay, well, now we're live. Hopefully for
What
real
if that's
this time.
live? You weren't live.
Oh, we did it. Yeah, okay, we're live this time. All the magic has been taken away out of the intro to the live stream this time. But hello, Kamui.
After last time, I don't know how to respond.
Okay, well, now we're live.
Well, it
Hopefully
seems
for
like
real
all
this time.
the greetings have a secret thing about them that leads to demonetization.
And what Kamui's referring to by last time isn't the last stream. He's referring to pre-stream when we tried to start stream and stream didn't start. But if you want to see that next time, then join the Discord where we do these on the stage every single time and you can watch along in the stage. And it's a reason for joining the Discord. Then you could have seen what we were talking about. Just like Space. Space was there and he heard every single bit of it. And so he's in the know. And if you want to be in the know, instead of having FOMO, see that rhyme, how that worked together? Yeah, you have to join the Discord. All right. Thank you.
And while you're at it, if you want to know more secret things we say and do, you should become a member because 1/3 of the content's members only, starting like now or something close to that.
Well, let's get all the advertisements out of the way before people start pressing the forward arrow key on their keyboard to skip ahead 5 seconds until we start talking Naruto. So the thing we forgot to say last stream, which we've only mentioned once at the end of, I think it was 2 streams ago, we're going to be, what was it? It was something, what was it?
I don't even know what you're referring to.
Oh, right, yeah, members only. Okay, so starting next month, which is
that
June. Yeah, the first of the month, we are going to be cutting back the videos we do to 2 videos a day. So we're going to be uploading at 11 and 4 p.m. We're going to skip out on the third upload a day at 8 p.m. just to test the algorithm for a month and see how that goes. But we're not going to just be uploading 2 videos because we're going to be uploading 1 members only video per day. So it's still 3 videos per day. We're just moving one of them to members only for the sake of algorithmic tests rather than greed. So there's that.
Yeah, because apparently 3 videos a day is not good for the algorithm, according to Roberto Blade.
And
according to Mello, actually.
That's probably where Mello heard it.
If you want to blame anyone, blame Mello. But enough Mello jokes aside.
Oh, I love how we just cultivate our.
You know what? Actually, speaking of Mello, should we just get it to Sarada?
Well, that would be more of a Sage of Thick Calves on a Thursday stream, but we could do that as well. Speaking of streams coming up with scheduled guests that may or may not happen, we have a 1,000 subscriber special scheduled, and that will come whenever that person adds us and messes us with that.
They've already agreed, and not just agreed, but expressed enthusiasm to joining. But they haven't clicked the add friend button yet. We're still waiting.
One little button between us and them.
It's the only hurdle.
Okay, so
that shouldn't be a hurdle.
So Kamui,
hopefully it will be crossed.
What Sarada things did you want to segue to?
Well, I figured it wasn't going to be the Sage of Thick Calves one, but it could be the one that we were talking about with Sarada versus Boruto, and or whatever I wrote down here, where'd it go? About Sarada doing better versus Hidari than Ryu. But I think these are related things, to be honest.
Okay.
Now, I don't think Sage of Thick Calves was arguing Sarada over Boruto, so whereas we can talk about it with him, it's not exclusively a Sage topic.
Well, do you want to do it now?
Well, I'll let you decide.
Oh, why me? It's your topic. Why do I have to decide now?
No. It's our topic. If anything, it's your topic because you messaged me in Discord about it.
Okay, our topic. Ooh. So, Sarada did better versus Hidari than Ryu on all fronts. Pre-MS, obviously. Is this because...
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with that. Is this because these are just 4 options in no particular order? Option 1. Sarada was that mentally distressed in the Sand Village versus Ryu compared to Hidari.
You know, fighting her dad.
Option 2. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I guess we'll just discuss each thing one by one. I was going to come back. So,
Okay.
yeah, so if this is the case, I understand they're doing the samurai stuff, but this is just, I'm sorry, but this just is ridiculous because she should be pretty mentally distressed finding her dad.
Yes.
Like, I understand being distressed over Boruto, but they should at least be equal. She's finding her dad and her mom's not there. You know what I mean? Like, her dad's literally got her wrapped up in a vine, ready to eat her.
And if you disagree with us, go reread Naruto Gaiden.
Option 2, though, is that Ryu is stronger than Hidari, and abilities are included in strength here. Option 3, which, okay, so real quick, that just isn't what you believe, and it also goes against, well, one of the possible explanations for Sarada not being stronger than Boruto, but it's still an option. Option 3 is that Ryu isn't stronger than Hidari, but his ability just so happens to be particularly anti-Sarada / the rest of the team, and made the fight harder than it otherwise would be versus any other Shinju. Now, I understand Iron Sand's hacks, but I do think this is ridiculous because nothing about Iron Sand was anti-Sarada. If anything, Sarada having lightning style is kind of anti-Ryu, and they had Araya's sword for most of this fight, and Sage, Mitsuki, and all the other people on the team. So, like, if anything, they had anti-Ryu hacks going on here. So, I think that option just is probably the most ridiculous of all these because I think it just makes the opposite of sense.
Exactly.
Option 4 is just any combination of the above, which, if there's gonna be a combination, it would just have to be 1 and 2. But you see the conundrum? None of these options really, they're all ridiculous, but they're the only options. Unless you can think of another one.
Well,
for why she would have done better versus Hidari than Ryu. Now, obviously, she was losing to both, but like, just real quick to kind of emphasize, she did dodge Hidari's Chidori and hit him with a Chidori. And then once Boruto showed up and they're like ganging up on him, she's doing pretty well. Like, he grabs her, she does Chidori stream and hurts him. She yanks him and throws him and stuff. Like, she's able to fight, like, do something in that fight. Whereas versus Ryu, without Araya's sword, she ain't doing shit. And even with Araya's sword, her Chidori was too shallow. She, like honestly, though.
It definitely wasn't shallow versus Hidari.
You know what I mean? Like Hidari had to go back and heal. Ryu didn't even do that.
Yeah.
Just tanked it, I guess. So, like, and like, yeah, we're not saying Sarada can beat Hidari pre-MS or anything, but the point is, she just does do better against him. Even if you think it's a 1% better, I don't care. Objectively, it was better. Equal at best, but it was really better. So, do you have any other possibility to explain that other than the 3 I gave?
Something to consider is Sarada in both cases isn't fighting alone. She's fighting with different comrades against a different opponent. So the abilities wouldn't necessarily have to be anti-Sarada or not. It would be anti-Sarada's entire team in comparison to Hidari.
Yeah, well, in which case, that just isn't true for option 3, though, because again, the team just had anti-Ryu for most of the fight. And then once they when they have anti-Ryu, they're essentially doing similarly to when Boruto's there with the Hidari fight. Now, obviously, they do a little bit better with Boruto because Boruto is freaking God, but like, the fact that they're doing similar, like, yeah, they're doing similarly as well. So that's saying a lot. Once they lose the anti-Ryu hacks, they just get bodied bad.
So,
Like,
I'm not gonna use this, but I do also just want to point out something almost hilarious in both fronts. First of all,
I'd say we can take this more extreme too, real quick. We can use Mello's argument that Hidari had to fight like a bee or just to knock out Sarah.
yeah. Well, I want to add that two different things. First of all, Ryu, in comparison to Hidari, is fighting like in his domain. He's fighting in a sandy area as opposed to Hidari, who wasn't fighting in any particular strength in terms of his abilities. If you even
Yeah, no,
think
he just doesn't
any.
have an environment for that, really.
Yeah, but like Ryu, this is like his place. Like if Kisame was fighting in the water, it's the same thing. To be fair, he's using iron sand, not sand, and so it's not the exact same. But like at the very least, he's like
he can hide. He's hiding his iron sand at the sand at least. But...
Yeah, exactly.
He's also. Oh, I'll also this. Ryu was trying less hard. He wasn't going for the kill at first. We see him try harder later on. Like there were signs of, like for example, he could have had that sand pop out behind Mitsuki or Sarada, whoever it was, at any point. He just never did it earlier. He was playing around. Hidari, on the other hand, wasn't playing around. He just was serious, going for like the finishing blow the whole fight.
Yeah. The other thing is, again, this is arguably more important since the Hidari one, Hidari Ryu amplified based on domain, we don't really know. But Sarada, in my opinion, is technically nerfed in the desert because her ground is sand instead of solid dirt. So she can't like move as fast or be as dexterous or whatever.
Okay. I agree with that in real life, but I don't think that matters in Naruto because they're running on water and stuff just fine. Agree. It seems to have no impact, so I'm gonna ignore the point, but that is funny.
Another one that's technically an environment thing is it would just be hot in the desert, whereas it's gonna be more cool in Konoha, probably. At least more wet instead of dry. So probably sweating less.
The sweat beat count, it doesn't seem to be affecting them at all, so we can also discredit that one, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fair. Well,
but I do think the other points, like how hard they're trying, like Hidari just objectively is fighting harder than Ryu was for most of that fight. Like he just is. Like
yeah, at the very least, because Boruto was there.
So then you have to ask, okay, is it because Boruto? But I can't say that because Boruto is okay. So when Sarada does the Chidori dodge and hit thing, Boruto's not there. That's all Sarada. When she does the Chidori stream and throw Hidari thing, Boruto is specifically just standing still, gathering Uzuhiko energy and not doing anything. So you can't attribute that to Boruto. Hidari's not fighting Boruto there. He's just going for Sarada. So again, he's not even distracting Hidari. So yeah, like when Boruto's doing the Rasenkans and stuff, chopping down Clock Rhyme, sure, but all of Sarada's feats don't involve Boruto. So you can't even use that excuse.
Yeah.
And what feats does she have versus Ryu? Oh, after like a 3-wombo combo attack, she finally landed a shallow Chidori. Like everything we're saying just implies Ryu is stronger than Hidari. I'm gonna be honest, but I don't see if you were gonna. The only reason that could be true is if all of the Shinju have equal powers, and from there it's just the difference in abilities. In which case, Ryu just has the best abilities. But then you're looking at how Momoshiki does versus Boruto, and he ain't using any abilities. That was all power. So I'm kind of like, I don't think that's true. It's also kind of goofy to it just is narratively goofy to have Shinki be the strongest Shinju. Mamoshi's goofy, but at least you got Kara in there. Like, Shinki's just Shinki. Like, I know Shinki's OP and all, but like, it's Shinki, not Sasuke.
I mean, I am pretty confident that Hidari is going to have a much better performance in his next fight compared to the first fight, because he's going to unlock something, whether it's Sharingan, some other dormant ability that's going to give him access to the true Chidori or something.
But that doesn't like have to do with this fight. And then you have to ask, okay, well, is Hidari actually just the weakest Shinju? Well, maybe, but at the same time, when Boruto skirmishes with the Shinju in Chapter 4, receiving Momoshiki, it's kind of like Momoshiki kind of puts him against the wall, Boruto blocks it. He does the lightning jutsu, purple lightning. Momoshiki just kind of like tanks it, and then Boruto flying right into waves, tricky little. Like, they're kind of just like stalemating. Like, neither one's making progress there. Boruto's asking Code for help. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he was just like, oh, I'm gonna body you, Momoshiki. Then Hidari comes out. All they do is clash jutsu, basically. They don't, I mean, technically, it's as relative as it can get. That doesn't mean they are equal, but like, no one displays an advantage in that brief skirmish, and then they get ganged up. They gang up on Boruto and he's losing. And then you look at the next fight. Okay, well, what does Boruto do? Rely on backup from from Konohamaru and Sarada in order to win. And in fact, if Kawaki didn't shrink Hidari's claw mark, he very likely may have just teleported back, regenerated, and come back again. So you got to consider that. That team still might not have beaten Hidari if Kawaki didn't show up when he did.
Yeah.
With anti-claw mark ads. So that's making Hidari look pretty strong. You know what I mean?
It is possible that the Shinju are born with different levels of their latent ability, just dormant or unlocked, unleashed, whatever. So it's possible that Hidari just could have been born weaker than the others, even if they all have the same amount of potential, to where Ryu just was born at essentially his maximum strength. Just all of his potential he's able to use from the get-go. Whereas Hidari just wasn't. Possibility.
Okay, but if that's the case, do you think Boruto would have just been bodied by Ryu? Because that would be your only conclusion.
This is such a problem.
I don't think that's the case. Like, I really don't. Because again, that team against Hidari, he would have teleported away and healed if it wasn't for Kawaki. So we needed Kawaki, Boruto, Sarada, and Konohamaru to beat Hidari.
But then that's such a problem for... Because I was thinking about this earlier. There's almost essentially no point of Boruto needing to go there in order to kill Matsuri. If this is what they're doing with the power scaling, if frickin' Sarada's fodderizing Ryu, and then if Matsuri and Ryu are so equal, then, oh, but Boruto, the only reason he was able to defeat Matsuri is because you weakened her, Konohamaru, thank you! So then, why isn't Mitsuki just going over there and speed blitz one-shotting her the same way Boruto did, if Boruto's apparently trash now, weaker than Sarada?
Well, so is Mitsuki.
Okay, I understand, but at this point, it feels like anyone could have killed Matsuri in that condition.
But then they followed up with the next chapter with Ada being like, hey, Boruto's showing off his skills versus Juro, and he's doing pretty darn well. Now, obviously, Juro's not going all out, and the story makes it clear Juro's stronger, but like, it's also making it clear, hey, Boruto is doing very well against Juro, arguably the best against, the best we've seen. Like, I feel like the narrative is portraying Boruto as the strongest in the Juro fight. But what we've just explained about the other 21 chapters portrays Sarada as way stronger than him.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think that should be the case. At best, they should be, like, relative to one another, but I still think Boruto should win if he fought Sarada, but based on Sarada's performance against Ryu, the story doesn't seem like it's trying to say that anymore. Breaks the power scaling.
Yeah. So, like, what is the intent?
Bro, honestly, it's that one stupid Matsuri Boruto line that just threw everything in the wrench for me. I wish that line just was never existed.
Honestly, I don't even think that's necessary. I don't think that line does it, because honestly, the first 20 minutes of this discussion has been Hidari and Ryu. Like the Boruto Matsuri line basically just validates the Hidari fight, if that makes sense. Like it coincides with what we saw in the Hidari fight. It's just MS Sarada bodying Ryu. Well, not just MS Sarada bodying Ryu, but also Sarada's performance versus Ryu versus Hidari as well. Like it's the Sarada parts. That's where it's weird.
Yeah. I mean, if Konohamaru weakened Matsuri so much to where she's below even Boruto, then why was Konohamaru even struggling? Like, how weak is Trash Shimaru at this point? Why even send him out there?
You had to off-guard her.
So, I don't know. Weird. Now, something I do want to ask, since it's related to Hidari, and I thought about it a little bit earlier. Why do you think Hidari doesn't have Tomoe in his Rinnegan, considering he's siphoning chakra from Sasuke, who, as Toby Raba explains, it's the unique chakra.
Rinnegan got destroyed, so all that chakra might just be gone anyway. I don't know.
His Rinnegan was destroyed. His Sharingan, which has the Tomoe, are still
there.
So
okay, you're saying that. So in this case, would he just have the Tomoe in the one eye he had left, basically?
Well, Hidari has both eyes, but yeah, Sasuke has his one Sharingan with Tomoe.
Yeah, so like that Sharingan's Tomoe. So like basically, Hidari would have Tomoe in one Rinnegan, not the other.
At the very least, based on that one scene we saw in Naruto Gaiden, to where when Sasuke first teleported out of Kaguya's dimension, he like deactivated his EMS, which deactivated his Rinnegan Tomoe. So there's clearly a link there. Sasuke still has his EMS, and if Hidari has Sasuke's chakra, then he should have access to that EMS chakra, which means if he's correlated linking that whatever to the Rinnegan Tomoes, then he probably should have Tomoes in his Rinnegan. Since he can activate EMS chakra, should do the same thing. Does that make sense?
I mean, I don't know what the I'm trying to think of like the problem is we don't know anything about the other people's abilities to do comparisons. And then like even with Shinki, if you're gonna go off the manga, the only jutsu we know is his sealing jutsu, which Ryu said he can undo. Everything else just seemed to be like Shinki never did the turn yourself to sand jutsu. Is that Ryu, doing his own thing? Or is that something Shinki just was doing every day off screen in the manga? And see, there's a problem with this. Like, we need to know what they're actually in Moegi. It's like we need to know their abilities to understand these things. Because obviously with Hidari, we know he's got a claw mark addition thing that obviously Sasuke couldn't do. Beyond that, all he's done is Chidori fire style things Sasuke can do. He uses his tent tail shape transformation abilities to make a sword like Sasuke. So like for the most part, he fights like Sasuke plus claw marks. Now obviously we expect each Shinju to fight similarly to their original, but then again you look at Matsuri, Moegi, I don't fight in the manga, but I don't think Moegi uses her clothes as Kaguya's jutsu, but like clothes.
No,
so like she does that. Matsuri's not using her hair. I can see Moegi maybe doing the hair thing, but that's not what Matsuri's doing. So cool. It doesn't seem like Matsuri fights like Moegi, other than the Earth style gravel jutsu, the only jutsu Moegi has ever used. And it's Matsuri only used it once.
And we haven't seen Bug fight, but I don't think he had a claw crab hand thing.
I don't know. Like again, like maybe he did. Can't remember.
But even if he did, it's gonna be scientific ninja tools unless that's retconned into Shibai cells.
Well, so then we have to ask ourselves another. So again, okay, this doesn't make sense when it comes to Ao and even Garo. It doesn't make sense. But is Ikimoto retconning it to where all of the outer members of Kara have Shibai cells and like that is their abilities? Because it just these were mechanical parts. But like Naruto, no, you have to ask. Okay, the other question you have to ask is when Naruto asked Amado, Amado, I've been meaning to ask you, how did you create so many crazy abilities? Did Ikimoto slash Amado only interpret that as Ada and Damon, maybe even Code? Or was Naruto talking about all of Kara? Because when he says, I've been meaning to ask, it should be all of Kara that he knows about, at least the inners, because, well, if you've been meaning to ask, you've been meaning to ask for the last 2 minutes, the 2 pages of explanation on their abilities you didn't even know about until right now? No, that's, you wouldn't say, I've been meaning to ask. That's just not how that phrase works. So, he has to be talking about all of Kara.
Well, real quick, Kamui, real quick. Ikimoto ignores how phrases work. Remember Boruto's back at ya, I think, against Konohamaru in the interrogation room?
True.
Doesn't matter.
You got a point. But, like, but again, though, taking it at face value, he should be referring to all the inners. Kochi also explains all the inners have Shibai cells. At the very least, all the inners do. Not all of them awaken Shinjutsu, but they all have the Shibai cells. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, so let's do something less obviously robotic. Victor's regeneration, or Delta's leg thing that she does, that's kind of like Kawaki's arms. Is that ninja tech robotic cyborg ninja tech, or is that Shibai cells but not Shinjutsu? Because the answer to that question helps guide us in this discussion. Because obviously, like, Ao's freaking lightsaber, whatever the fuck, that's such Shibai cells, man. Stop, sorry. Shibai doesn't have robot arms.
Yeah.
Garo's hands. That is not Shibai cells. It's not. I'm sorry. It just isn't. But other things, like just Kawaki's arm thing, Delta's legs, I could see that because originally I was going to make a video saying that I think all of this ninja tech, the ninja tech is housing Ten-Tail cells. That was what I originally thought. Because Boro, when he blows up, looks like a Ten-Tails. He's even got like Ten-Tails. Delta's and Kawaki's shape transformation stuff, kind of similar to the Ten-Tailsy stuff that where they changed their shape and form and stuff, at least like Obito, like Scaly and all that, and so on, the regeneration. These are just similar to Ten-Tails abilities. Now, he says Shibai cells. Unless Shibai is that Ten-Tails, then they could just be similar because Ten-Tails are Atsuki. So, it's similar enough, right? So, but like, again, like, maybe Garo's chakra blasts come from that, but the hands themselves just are metal.
Yeah.
No way around it.
So you could ignore that, or Delta's legs, if you want to say that's a blurry line in between. It could go either way. They just can't do that for Kawaki, in my opinion, because that'd be the most direct, blatant, obvious, in-your-face retcon of all times, considering Kodachi literally already, in the manga, had Katasuke explain exactly how it was working. Through the, what was it, the osteoclast and osteoplast cells?
Yeah, so it still would be a blatant retcon because they strongly emphasize, like, they made it a point that Kawaki's body is a scientific ninja tool. And Shibai cells aren't scientific ninja tools. Is there scientific transplantation of cells? Sure. But that's not what scientific ninja tools were about. It just isn't the thing that they went out of their way to emphasize a billion times. That was the point.
I just can't wait. I just can't wait for Ikimoto to explain that actually it wasn't Kaguya who orchestrated Shinobi history, it was Shibai, who also, because it's his cells, that's science, and Shibai is going to parallel Dahaku by being a tool, so therefore Shibai cells are a scientific ninja tool. I just can't wait for the haters to say that.
He views himself as a tool for this world, like...
The world is his tool.
Yeah. But, like, I think the best balance they can do is essentially to explain the transplantation process. And you have two different ways you can do this. One is to just do everyone the same, is what I'm gonna say. The other is this is gonna be the distinction between Ada and Damon and someone like Boro. So when it comes to like Danzo's arm, for example, or Yamato, like Orochimaru just transplants cells to cells, like in the most human-y way she can. There's no metal object housing the cells. But you see, Boro has this big core. So with Boro's case, if that core itself either houses or limits, or it's doing like the ninja tool is doing something very specific that allows them to do these abilities. So either it's limiting in a way that keeps them like normal, or it just straight up houses the ability. So hypothetically, that core just has Shibai cells in it, and the ninja tech just does whatever it does to make Boro work. That's fine. He's also got vents in his head for the virus. Like if he's implementing metallic tools with the Shibai cells to make things work for people like Boro, fine. This can apply to Kawaki, but on a cellular level. He's got, 500 mini balls of cores in his cells or whatever. Fine. As long as you just keep that, I'm okay with it.
Real quick,
But
it would have been
if
so
you remove
cool.
that,
It would have been so cool to have Shino fight Boro, because you already know the way Shino's gonna fight Boro. He's gonna gunk up the vents, covering him with the beetles so that the virus can't escape. That's gonna be so cool.
And then he explodes, like his head explodes, and that's how they reveal the regeneration.
Exactly.
That could have been cool.
So cool.
And then he has to like get so what he does instead is he has the bugs crawl in through the vents again, but this time they're looking for the core until they can go in and they just like eat the core essentially, and then Boro blows up. It's like a reveal that Shino's bugs destroyed the core. Like he uses those giant beetles from the Tentils that he does on the Tentils bone, and those things eat the core.
Bro, this is the best Boro rewrite. Screw the new gen. We were wrong. Boruto shouldn't have been.
Just put Gedo in there.
Yeah. Just have it be the old cast. Oh, that's what if Kishimoto wrote Boruto, I
guess. Yeah, they'd actually be there to help.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Sarada and So, I mean, do you have any other explanation for Sarada's performance versus Ryu versus Hidari that would I mean, again, unless you want to go with that mentally distressed in the Sand Village argument, but that's the only one that might be like ridiculous, but not necessarily inconsistent. Like it shouldn't be the case, but like I think it is the case, and it's definitely probably a factor. But even then, I'm still kind of like, so how does Sage Mitsuki compare to Konohamaru? Like questions like that, because it feels like Sage Mitsuki is supposed to be stronger than Konohamaru, even in TBV. Like, he's going after Boruto. He's basically saying, yeah, Kawaki can't fight Code the way you did, so I know you're stronger than Kawaki already, so I'm going to fight you instead. Like, Mitsuki seems to think he's stronger than Kawaki. I don't think anyone in the village is putting... No, I know, like, maybe Sage of the Cavs or Mello or whoever, I'm just naming names, or Sauron, think Konohamaru is stronger than Kawaki. But in the universe itself, I don't think a single character thinks Konohamaru is stronger than Kawaki. Even base Kawaki. I think base Kawaki is just viewed as stronger than Konohamaru. Like, they look to him. If Konohamaru fails, they're going to look to Kawaki and be like, hey, can you help us out? That's telling me that Sage Mitsuki is stronger than Konohamaru.
He's running around with Delta, who
Sage
should be Naruto's level. I mean, I'm assuming that Kawaki's Delta's level, since he's running around with her, and then Delta, I'm assuming, is about the same strength as she was before, which was Naruto's level.
Even if she's not Naruto's level, it's just obviously stronger than Konohamaru, right? You know, like, I don't care how much stronger he got. He just wasn't Kara in her level. That was like, we see how he fights against Ao. Okay?
Exactly.
We see how he's worried against Garo. Delta's supposed to be leaps and bounds stronger than the Outers. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not Delta level. And Kawaki is narratively supposed to be there. And so if Mitsuki, and again, so So Konohamaru can react to Hidari. Sage Mitsuki's having a lot of trouble with Ryu. And Sage Mitsuki should be, objectively, far stronger than Konohamaru. If that's the case, Sage Mitsuki should have no problems against Ryu. Against Hidari, which just means Ryu is stronger than Hidari. And if that's the case, then that can explain, like, everything other than MS Sarada's strength in terms of Boruto's performance and Sarada's everywhere. Because if Ryu's just stronger, then and he's not trying, then he's just kind of bodying everyone, whatever. But then you have MS Sarada just bodying Ryu. So is Sarada just leaps and bounds stronger than Boruto, which is not what the narrative's implying? Or did her abilities just extra counter Ryu? And as far as his sand goes, sure, because that is his fighting style. You just can't use it. But, like, he still just couldn't do anything. Like, because again, I think ignoring blowing him up, her ability just does counter Ryu more than most people. Yeah, she probably can, like, teleport, I don't know, like, purple lightning into her orb or whatever. But, like, doing that to a Chidori is just gonna be harder. I don't even know if the claw marks can just move like that. So you might not even be able to do that to the claw marks and so on. So a lot of the jutsu that, like, Hidari uses, okay, it's not just gonna negate it, but, like, what does Hidari, Matsuri, or Mabushi do against the blow you up part? You know what I mean?
I'm not so sure she's gonna be able to move like a lightning bolt through her gravity to space. I just don't think.
It might only be physical objects, but either way, that's not really my point. My point is, let's just make it as extreme as possible. Sure. It can only do physical objects, so like Ryu Sand. Okay, but what does Hidari do to not be blown up? Especially if he doesn't know it's coming.
I mean, it's possible that Ryu's kryptonite is just randomly gravity. Like, the smallest amount of gravity just makes him explode like he's Boro, as opposed to the other Shinju who are just going to have it realistically apply to them, to where it's not that big a deal.
Maybe, but that's also ridiculous. I feel like the moral of this story is just, something's ridiculous. You know, you have 10 poisons to pick from. Pick your poison, but they're all ridiculous poisons. I don't really see any way around it.
I mean, so instead of like Ryu having an anti-Sarada setup, this is such a bad argument, but like maybe it's possible that since Hidari fights like Sasuke and Sarada's used to Sasuke's fighting style at this point, she's trained with him a lot, she sort of knows how to counter someone like Hidari. Whereas someone like Ryu, she doesn't have as much fighting experience against, and his fighting style is a little bit more unorthodox anyways. So maybe she just isn't as prepared.
Well, I see, my problem with that is that, for one, when Hidari came out with the Chidori, that's just off guard. Two, she just, like, okay, does Sasuke come out of claw marks, grab you, and yank you? No. That's not Sasuke's fighting
style. Exactly.
And second, Sarada has fought Shinki before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I already thought about all of those arguments, which is why I said it's such a bad argument.
You know, like, now if you want to say in the manga, oh, she's never fought Shinki. Okay, well then she's never trained with Sasuke.
Yeah, so wait, are we saying the anime isn't canon?
Yeah, like, but again, that's fine. Okay. She's never trained with Sasuke then, because she doesn't do it in the manga.
Ooh.
She's literally complaining that he's spending more time with Boruto than training her, so... You know, so she wouldn't have fighting experience against either of them.
Ridiculous. I do want to go back to the Rinnegan Tomoe thing. So, the Boruto Tintails. Remind me, if you remember. Does it have a Rinne Sharingan for its eye? Or is it just the Rinnegan?
I believe it has the Tomoe.
It does have the Tomoe. So, Jura, as we know, doesn't have the Tomoe, and neither do any of the other tailed beasts. Or, sorry, Shinju. Unless you want to count the Tomoe on Jura's stomach, but I'm not going to count that.
Yeah, I just double checked. He does have the Tomoe. Well, I mean, but that kind of
Where did it
is
go?
a question, though.
Where did it go?
Like, for whatever reason, it's the Tomoe on his stomach instead. The other thing you could say, and I think this is at face value, if you ignore context, a good argument. But if you pay attention to context, an awful argument. But when it comes to Sasuke, when he just uses up a certain amount of chakra, he's just low in chakra, the Tomoe go away. So it could be true that, like, essentially, because the Ten Tails is splitting up chakra, whatever, with the multiple Shinju, maybe Jiraiya just doesn't have enough chakra to have the Tomoe. The problem, though, is that, bro, he's literally the world-ending threat, like, that nobody can stop currently.
Yeah.
He's got enough chakra.
It's like, gonna be weird. I'm just calling it right now. It's gonna be really weird if Jiraiya devours Himawari or something else, and he evolves, and then he gains what he already should have had, which was the Tomoe Rinnegan.
Unless he just never gets a Tomoe Rinnegan, but...
Yeah. Because, I mean, thinking about it, we've never had a Ten Tails that doesn't have the Rinne Sharingan. We can excuse the Boruto era one because we just don't know much about it. For the Kaguya one, obviously, Kaguya ate the chakra fruit, gained the Rinne Sharingan.
She got a Rinne Sharingan. She is the Ten Tails. Of course, they both have it, you know.
Yeah. Fused with divine tree, ninja maybe. But either way, okay, so then we look at the war arc. Obviously, that would have the Ten Tails since it's fused with Kaguya or whatever. But then, technically, Obito becomes a 10,000 Jinchuriki and then spits out the God Tree, which does have the Tomoe and the Rinnegan, which would then, in my opinion, tell you probably the Kaguya essence is within the God Tree rather than the Ten Tails, considering Obito split the two in half or something. So hypothetically...
sorry, he splits the Ten Tails in half, so it's 8 Ten Tails, and then that half of the Ten Tails turns into the God Tree. Both just have the Rinne Sharingan.
Why do you say both?
Because we see both.
At the same time?
You see that... So Obito takes out half the Ten Tails. It has the Rinne Sharingan. Then it transforms into the Divine Tree and still has a Rinne Sharingan.
Yeah. But I'm saying the other half that's still inside Obito, would that, hypothetically, if he took that half out, would that have the Rinne Sharingan or just the Rinnegan?
I mean, nobody knows, but...
That's what I was saying.
If I'm being honest, it probably does.
Well, I agree.
Oh, actually, okay. I do have evidence for it. So as we know, that Divine Tree just stays there. Eventually, Obito loses his Biju / Ten Tails. Madara puts them back together into a Ten Tails. That Ten Tails has a Rinne Sharingan. He then absorbs it, and then separately absorbs the Divine Tree with a Rinne Sharingan. So both
yeah, we do see it for 2 seconds. Okay. When Madara absorbs it, do we see its eye?
Yes.
We do see its eye, and it does have the...
You do see its eye.
It does have the Rinne Sharingan.
I'll even double check just to be absolutely certain, but we definitely see it.
Because that would confirm it right there, yeah. So then both halves do have the Rinne Sharingan. So then the question is, did the Kaguya essence truly just get split in half, or was Kaguya only in one, which means the Ten Tails in and of itself would have had the Rinne Sharingan regardless. Oh yeah,
but it has it. We get a big panel of the Ten Tails' like head. You see its eye very clearly.
Okay. So which one do you think it is? Do you think that Kaguya was in quote unquote both? Or was she only in one and the Ten Tails just did have a Rinne Sharingan regardless of Kaguya? Considering Kaguya got
we know it's
the
definitely
Tomoe
in the tree. It's got to be. It's telling him to take me in you. So it's definitely at least there.
Yes. I mean, Kaguya fused with it, so...
Exactly. It would be weird if she was only in the tree, because it just should just be all of Kaguya cut in half. Like, so she should just be in both in this case. Yeah. That just is the more sensible conclusion. However, I'm kind of inclined to believe that the Ten Tails just have Rinne Sharingan anyway. But again, you get into the weirdness of Boruto versus Naruto, because in Naruto, the reason it has the Rinne Sharingan is because of Kaguya, because the Tentacles only exist because Kaguya merged with the Divine Tree, and that's how the Tentacles came out. But in Boruto, you just have Tentacles anyway, that they might be all Otsutsuki or whatnot, but I think based off the Otsutsuki we've seen, it's kind of absurd to just assume every Otsutsuki has a Rinne Sharingan, unless it just coincidentally, maybe, here's the theory, maybe only those with a Rinne Sharingan, or at least a Tomari Rinnegan anyway, can turn into Tentacles. So maybe Ishiki just can't do it. Now, I don't think that's true, but like hypothetically, then all Tentacles have it because of that. But
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if you would like look at this for evidence for either or, but you could say Naruto's like 9-tailed beast Rasen Shuriken disrupting Kaguya would mean that they aren't like 100% fused, and that Kaguya would be split from it like half and half to where she's only in one half.
Oh, what was happening was she was turning into the Ten-Tails form. So it's weird. It's almost like, so Kaguya is the Ten-Tails, but like, so the best way to explain it would be that like, that's like an unstable Kaguya. So imagine like when Naruto's in the four-tail state and out of control, that's like Kaguya's ten-tail state, essentially.
Yeah.
When she's just a mindless beast, or Jugo when his rages, that's kind of like the ten-tails with Kaguya. And
but at
so
the same time,
she was losing control.
She felt like the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, though, rather than the Ten-Tails at that point in time. And also, would you say that like the Ten-Tails and Kaguya... Wait, what? When Kaguya was fighting Naruto.
Well, okay, it looked like the that's just weird on Kishimoto's part, but I'm going off of what Zetsu says there.
Well, let's also remember... what does Zetsu say exactly? Because Kaguya doesn't look like...
Her, like...
Maybe she was turning the Ten-Tails, but she doesn't look like she's turning the Ten-Tails, because the other 9-tailed beast
like she's turning into a 9-tailed beast conglomeration, which is weird, but...
Exactly, that's not the Ten-Tails, it's the 9 different tailed beasts separately, together.
I know, it doesn't make sense. Oh no, don't tell me. Yeah, Mother didn't transform into Ten-Tails of her own will. Are the Biju Chakra within her? Are the Biju within her resonating in response to Naruto's attack and starting to split apart? So what he's saying is she turned into the Ten-Tails, and in addition to that, the Biju are splitting apart, essentially. So that's why she looks like this.
Yes, but like, what does that mean? How do the Biju inside the Ten-Tails split apart? Like, they can't just do that.
It's just been resonating with Naruto's attack, I guess.
So...
So, like, hypothetically, I know Naruto didn't have these powers at the time, but, like, if he, let's just say he just is Six Paths Naruto when the Ten-Tails is formed, if he just threw those Rasen Shuriken at the Ten-Tails, would they just undone the Ten-Tails?
Exactly. Like, I don't want to use this because it's filler. Actually, no, I'm not going to use Sora. I'll use Ginkaku Kinkaku. Let's just say one of the Naruto Shadow clones, KCM clones, KCM1, went to the beachfront to help out, and then KCM1 Naruto confronted Ginkaku and Kinkaku. Are they going to resonate to where the 9-tails is going to be pulled out of both of them? How does that work?
Well, I mean, in the Sora arc, when Sora transforms, Naruto transforms and vice versa, right?
I mean, only kinda.
No, and not only kind of, they just made Naruto go into V2 or something like that.
Okay, you say that base Naruto was fighting the 4-tails of that arc, so I don't want to hear it.
Well, I don't remember the specifics of how that exactly, but I remember it was resonating. Naruto also had a weird reaction when Kinkaku went into his 9-tail state as well. Really? So there was something like resonating there.
Okay, maybe there is like a resonating factor here. Kind of cool.
There just seems to be like when the chakras touch. Or another example, Obito, when he had leftover Biju chakra, touches Madara, was able to resonate it and pull him out. Naruto, when he has all the tail beast chakra, is able to touch Obito and pull him out. Like there seems to be like a resonation thing.
But then at the same time, you have Naruto and B, and then Naruto and Minato literally fist bumping to do the opposite of resonation, basically.
I wouldn't say the opposite of resignation.
I mean, how would you describe it?
But they were just connecting their chakras.
Yeah, so why didn't resignation happen? Why didn't the Nine Tails come out of them?
I think the better question would be whenever Minato activates like KCM, why doesn't Naruto just instantly enter KCM? But
I mean, maybe this is how I guess Obito was able to
Minato learned KCM,
yeah. Naruto the Nine Tails so easily.
Yeah.
It didn't take the freaking 20 billion days to like transfer into Naruto. It was just like instant.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's just like the weird green essence that's floating around. It's like small too. The chibi form of them. But
I think of there's other things with other like chakras and cells and stuff, but I don't think we ever. Yeah, I don't think we see like a. I was wondering if there's a Hashirama cell thing to where like a Hashirama cell hits another Hashirama cell and does something. There's similar ideas, like Naruto's Kurama Yang chakra making the Zetsu turn to trees, but that's a little bit different.
Well, if it helps, I think it's the Gedo Mazo that would have the Rinne Sharingan essence rather than any of the tailed beasts, since obviously they don't have Toboys or Rinnegods, and the Gedo Mazo.
That's what's weird. The Gedo Statue just has. I mean, I get it artistically that the 9 eyes for the 9 Biju and whatnot, but like, I mean, what your explanation could just be. The Rinnegan is a chakra-y thing, so without chakra, the Gedo statue just wouldn't have the chakra eye. So just essentially, each of the 9-tailed beasts might have 1/9 of the Rinnegan's chakra or something. But
yeah, but I'm considering the Gedo Mazo to have multiple forms, anyways, to the point of like the 9 eyes on the Gedo statue aren't even its real eye. The Rinne Sharingan would be its real eye, which it just has closed at that time.
I don't think there's room for that if you look at the Gedo statues.
It transforms anyways.
It only transforms into the tent bills.
Well, that's a transformation.
It's not another Gedo statue form.
I mean, well, no, it is a Gedo statue form because the Tin Tails' body is the Gedo statue.
You get what I mean.
Sure.
But anyway, it is still weird though that like, so the humanoid Tentils, it still doesn't look perfectly like the Gedo statue, but it's like fairly similar-ish. But like the first state of the Tentils blob form, it just doesn't look like the Gedo statue at all. I don't know what's going on there. It shouldn't just be, oh, it doesn't have enough chakra, because the Gedo statue just doesn't have the chakra. So that should be the most blobby of anything.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like we've expressed why Sarada over Boruto is oh, well, I guess we haven't expressed the problem. Okay, so just real quick. So Sarada, power scaling wise, honestly, just based off what we've discussed with Hidari, Ryu, and all that, it just does seem like MS Sarada over Boruto. The problem, though, is every single narrative beat is highly suggesting that Boruto is stronger than everyone other than, Jura and probably Damon. Koji's specifically relying on Boruto as the sole key piece that matters more than everything. If Boruto dies, it's all over, but if Sarada dies, who cares? Boruto's the one fighting Jura, and either making a point to talk about how well he's done so far, and just, too bad Jura is the unstoppable threat that no one can beat. That's why Boruto won't die. They just do have Boruto one-shot Matsuri, whether she's injured or not. Boruto is the main one beating Hidari. He's the one who beats Code. They're doing all these things. They're just really emphasizing that Boruto's the top dog. So MSR is just stronger than Boruto. What's up with all that? What's up with all the narrative? Why are you doing that? That's what?
Going with that, what was the reason for Koji not wanting Boruto to teleport there? Oh, it's because if he goes, Jura's gonna show up and kill Boruto. But were they just going to defeat Matsuri then? Was Matsuri really that weak? And then what were they gonna do? Bring the Soul Thorns back? Was Jura just going to let them, considering he's watching the fight? How does this play?
So I don't. Let's actually talk about this because so there's a couple of things that you can consider as possibilities, but so obviously Koji says that Sarada's Mangekyo was one of the most crucial things they were hoping for from this battle. He says one of.
Yeah.
Well, so far that's like the only thing that this battle has done. Unless so you have to ask, okay, what are the other things? Okay, it's either just Sarada's MS and the Soul Thorns, or some other thing. So random hypotheticals. Boruto Jokan, Mitsuki Sage Mode 2.0, Konohamaru Monkey King Sage Mode, so on. You get the idea. Like,
yeah.
It's either just Sarada the Thorns, or there's some other power-up that we're just waiting for that hasn't happened yet. That Koji was hoping for. He was taking a risk, but he's hoping for. Now, that aside, either Konohamaru just was going to be Matsuri. Matsuru's going to devour him. Sage Mitsuki was going to run over there in time. But then again, Mitsuki says, I'm going to fight the Claw Grind. All right, you go bring Shinki back. So, I mean, should Mitsuki body those Claw Grind in like 3 seconds and get to Konohamaru? Yeah, but like, the fact that he didn't just one-shot them before Jura showed up makes me think, I don't know, man. Like,
well, the fact he was just going to do that at all instead of going to Konohamaru, because I remember complaining about that. He's like he's Jura, like he's finding any excuse to not help Konohamaru.
No, they hate him or something, he just wants him to go down. So, like, based on that, it's like, okay, maybe they would have got Matsuri, maybe they wouldn't. But then you have this question, though. Let's say Matsuri does devour Konohamaru. We don't know what that does.
Yeah.
But hypothetically, she might get stronger. She might instantly heal. If not, well, she can just go back and heal. And then maybe they go after Mitsuki. Maybe they just ignore him. But she might want to go get Ryu's Thorn Soul. But then you have the question of Jura. Okay, well, and this I don't really know what's up with Jura in this regard. My only fair explanation is he just wants to see the full extent of what the Shinju can do. He just wants to observe fully. It's like, he didn't intervene against Hidari. He just let them beat him and then took his Thorn Soul. He didn't intervene when Ryu was literally sticking his hand out, clearly needing help. Jura could sense Ryu's pain, by the way. He just knows what's going on. Ryu's clearly losing. Doesn't help him. And then he comes out, doesn't care about the he only came out when Boruto showed up. So it's like, was he going to show up?
But, okay, if we're going to say that Jura wants to or needs to observe the Shinju go all out, the true extent of the Shinju, then isn't that just helping Jura? In which case, shouldn't Koji want the fight to be kneecapped and end as soon as possible so Jura stays as weak as possible? Stays as far away from evolving as he can?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm still, like, left wondering. So, like, Jura makes it seem like Koji makes it seem like Jura's just not going to show up no matter what, unless Boruto does. But, like, if Boruto didn't show up, and let's just say Matsuri does get defeated, then they're just gonna free Moegi and Shinki. If the only way to stop that is if Jura stops them. But if Jura stops them, that means, well, one, you were never going to free Moegi and Shinki, and two, Jura's going to show up whether Boruto shows up or not. So what's the point?
In my opinion...
Just Sarada's Mangekyo? Great! Thank God Jura can kill her because he's stronger than her, so who cares about her Mangekyo?
Literally passed out right now.
Jura's not going to show up. Why the fuck does he not want to stop them?
I just consider this as well. If Jura, like Black Uchiha and Mello love to think, is just quaking in his boots, scared to death of Sarada, the most OP godly person of all time, Sarada's literally passed out right now. Why wouldn't Jura just kill her? If that was like a concern.
Chance, exactly.
Definitely not using her powers right now.
Yeah.
What, is Araya gonna block the shot? Like, no.
Oh man, with this new scaling, maybe. But like, yeah, I'm very much just wondering about like Jura's decision making when it comes to the Shinju, because it's like, does he just not care about any of them other than Hidari? Like, that can be interesting, but like, if that's the case, why is Jura gonna bother retrieving Ryu and Matsuri's soul thorns, assuming Boruto flees, like Koji said? Why would he bother?
Well,
Like, is it like he cares so little that he just isn't gonna do it unless it's handed to him on a silver platter? Then he's like, oh, I guess I will. Is that how it works? Because that's just so lame.
okay, I think we can narrow it down on a little bit closer to like one path of how it was hypothetically probably gonna go. Because what was the reason Boruto teleported in the first place? Koji, up to this point, had only implied it's going to be something unfavorable of what Boruto wants in regards to Konohamaru. So Matsuri, in my opinion, just was going to devour Konohamaru. All the signs seem to be pointing against that. Konohamaru couldn't finish her off. He's in a very precarious situation. Nobody's coming to his rescue for some reason. So I think Matsuri just was going to devour him. I don't think Matsuri was going to cry and hesitate. I think Matsuri's broken heart, wrathful form just would have done it. And so Matsuri's going to devour him. Whatever happens there happens. But considering Matsuri and Ryu were together, maybe this is just me underestimating the Shinju, giving them the benefit of the doubt after a year of them just lounging around. But considering Matsuri and Ryu came here together as a duo double team who are trusting these Leaf Shinobi who betrayed, backstabbed them, and went their separate ways, I assume that Matsuri... This is such a bad assumption considering Mitsuki isn't going to go check on Konohamaru, but I would assume that Matsuri wants to go check on Ryu, go let him know, hey, these Leaf Shinobi are trying to kill you, hey, this is a bad thing, hey, we're together and a team on this mission that we're on. The thing that Mitsuki and Konohamaru apparently just don't have. But I assume that's what Matsuri would do, considering they came here together. And so, what? Would Matsuri just kill Mitsuki and Araya, and then obviously Sarada, who's unconscious as well, then? Like, what happens then? Considering she's probably evolved or something.
She just devours all of them, depending on what devouring does. But then again, what Koji says makes it seem like Himawari would die if he gets devoured, so... But if that's the case, okay, you just lost everything that this mission... But, like, again, it seems like Koji expects things to go wrong with Konohamaru, so, like...
Well, Boruto's the only one that can teleport, that and the Shinju, obviously. But what I mean is, like, Konohamaru's entire team can't do that. So they can only just run. But, like, they're not gonna, like, outrun the Shinju.
So then you get into the, what was it that Koji was hoping for? Well, since it seems like it wasn't going to be Konohamaru awakens Monkey King stage mode beats Matsuri, Konohamaru goes down. What is that going to lead to? Well, Sarada's MS was one of the big things, and she's not passed out. I seriously doubt Araya was the big thing, considering he already lost his sword. That only leaves me with Mitsuki, which either means Mitsuki just was going to finally try, or he was going to power up. He's going to have the same thing as Sarada. He's going to stop holding back. Would have been nice to have had some foreshadowing of that, but I'll take what I can get. But, like, that's, like, the only... Because Koji seems to be, like, positive about his plan. Like, he's like, okay, Konohamaru and Yodo, they're gonna die, but, like, we're gonna get some good shit. Sarada's gonna awaken her MS, and who knows what. I was gonna assume Mitsuki. That's why he wants him on the mission. Because Mitsuki, so let's be honest. What has Mitsuki done? Like, okay, Yodo's role, to die and talk to Sarada. Araya's role, have a sword for a little bit. What has Mitsuki uniquely been there for? Oh, to find the piece of metal? Yeah, I really don't think Mitsuki used his sensory powers there. I think he just looked down and saw it. I'm gonna be honest. For all I know, he brought it with him. Like, I don't think Mitsuki hasn't done anything to deserve specifically being on this mission, other than the fact that he just is part of Team 7. Sure. So the only conclusion is he's gonna have a power up. In which case, then he beats Matsuri. That's what Koji's hoping for. But then that makes me mad that Boruto showed up.
Well, the thing is
now we don't get that from Mitsuki.
Yeah, but we aren't going to get it from Mitsuki no matter what, because Boruto, similar to Konohamaru, isn't going to let anyone else fight alongside him. If Mitsuki tries to join him in a Sage Mode Sun form, Boruto's just going to throw him away like he did Konohamaru. Be like, hey, go meet up with Konohamaru at the starting location.
Well, on one hand, yes, but on the other hand, he did ask for their backup against Hidari. But I think it's because Jorah just is guaranteed to kill them, basically. That he just like let it just be me, not all of us, kind of thing. But
I do think that was also just a little bit different, but maybe that's just me.
yeah.
But I do have a theory. I think you're gonna like this. So rather than like buffing up the arsenal going for the future in terms of like Mitsuki, rather Koji is going to be getting rid of loose ends that hold them back in the future. And so this mission, he did just send Konohamaru to his death. Why? Because if Konohamaru lives in the future, he's going to be the person to expose Shikamaru helping Boruto. And that goes against their perfect plan to help the future. Especially now, so even quicker than before, now that Konohamaru has seen Boruto teleport here. How would he know? Because of Shikamaru. Or however else.
In that case, okay, so I have one problem with that.
Okay.
I'm going to start by making it great. When Koji says Boruto's going to ruin everything, if it had to do with that, that's awesome. I actually love that. My big problem, though, is the only thing Koji's complained about so far is that Boruto's going to die. So clearly that's like the number one problem.
Yeah, but I don't think Koji would tell Boruto this. He's gonna tell him next time.
No. But I mean Ada. Unless, but I mean, he could just not want to tell Ada, but like, he's just blabbing Ada. Oh yeah, thank God Yodo died so Sarada could get MS willy-nilly, and then he's just talking to her in secret. Ada already knows that Shikamaru's doing this behind, the village's back and all that. Like, so I feel like, I feel like he just wouldn't mind. I mean, he might just not want to say that because that sounds shady, but like at the same time,
I don't think he wants her to be any more of a singularity of fate than he can help. Because even though, yes, everyone...
It's not even a singularity of fate, though, because because it's kind of saying in the future, Konohamaru will figure out, but yeah, okay.
In which case, Ada could act right now. She could even betray Koji. Maybe she sends Damon to go rescue Konohamaru. Who knows what's going to happen if Koji says something. Whereas he knows what's going to happen if he doesn't say anything, more so than not.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I definitely want this to be true, but you understand my hesitancy.
I'm okay with the hesitancy because I can imagine them doing it in a way to where I won't mind it.
No, my hesitancy in terms of them actually doing this at all.
Yes.
Like, I just don't trust you.
I stand by what I said, even if I said it wrong. The concept of what I said, I stand behind.
Well, I hope you're right.
Okay. So on to some other topics.
Okay, yeah. I just happened to see, especially in light of the new interview, why have Damon comment on Uzuhiko and not even show him when Himawari powers up versus Jura. But before that, intro topics, I believe. Okay. I'll share my screen. So I know Sauron had posted a better translation of the Himawari stuff, but I was able to find, it took me a while, I eventually found the full translation. Is this actually done by Salads and Bullets, which is the person who, whenever we have the better translations for the chapter, the ones that actually like aren't, omnipotent and stuff. But this is the person who does the good translations.
Zoom in a little bit more if you can. A little bit weird of a text. Can you zoom in more than that?
Hold on. I just open in browser.
Right click. Open. Oh, shout out Killer B.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll just look at all of these. That said, I'm sure you read this. Besides the fact these translations are so much better, when you see it, you will lose your shit. Well, the coincidental chances are actually insane. Now, I'm not going to spoil what on earth I mean by that in any aspect.
That's exactly, I read your description. That's exactly why I didn't read these new translations, because I was saving it for stream.
So I won't tell you what section it's on or any of it. It's just hopefully when you see it, you will just instantly understand. But like again, I'm just saying it's crazy. I'm not saying how it's crazy, but I do want to go through just honestly every single one. The only one that's basically the same is with the Shinju personality has the minimalist differences, but they all have subtle differences that I think are worth going over. So we'll just do the same thing as last time. We'll take turns asking the question and answering. So please tell us about the exchange that took place when Boruto decided to call Sasuke by a different name.
Because Sasuke left the village with him, Boruto felt a strong sense of Sasuke is my master and I am his disciple. Boruto has the tendency to start with the form kata, so he begins formally calling Sasuke master the day after they leave the village. At first Sasuke was uncomfortable with this, but because it was true that Boruto had become his disciple, he gradually began to accept it.
So, real quick, this is basically the same as it was. There's just slightly extra information.
Yeah, I feel like it's more of a Japanese honorific thing there.
Yeah, but I do. I'm also gonna open these up. There's notes for all of them that the translator wrote. I forgot to open this. Real quick though about that, wherever it is.
Some long notes.
I don't know where I wrote it. Probably Boruto topics, but
we've written a lot of things these past few days.
Where is it?
Well, while Kamui's doing that, how are you doing tonight?
I know what I wrote. Don't know where I wrote it.
Well, if you know what it is, you don't even need to go find it. Just say it.
Yeah, I guess so. So, Boruto calls Konohamaru master in Two Blue Vortex 2. So, like, is it because Sasuke saved him and left the village that he calls Konohamaru master? Like, I feel like the fact that he just is doing this to everyone is strongly taking away from this answer.
Yeah. So I'll be 100% honest. If this never existed, and you're just like reading chapter 4's flashback for the first time or whatever, Sauron isn't looking at that page and being like, Master, what's Boruto talking about? He's never said that before. Sasuke's Boruto's master. Ugh, what is this? Nobody's doing that because everyone already thought that Sasuke has been Boruto's master since like the frickin' beginning.
Exactly.
You know, ever since he became his master.
He literally calls him it.
Exactly.
Like.
Oh, but he didn't mean it when he said it all throughout Boruto Part 1 directly. It's like, bro.
But again, though.
Why are you trying to excuse this?
So he means it now. Does he just not mean it with Konohamaru? Or does he mean it with Konohamaru? If he means it with Konohamaru, what on earth changed for Konohamaru?
Yeah, so was there any notes for this one that you pulled up? Was the top one? Yeah, the Shisho Master.
These two.
And Kata. Oh, both. Okay. Do we want to go over that? That is a lot. Do we want to go over it?
I haven't actually read these.
Well, Shisho Master, I just wanted to add some extra context down here for a few things. As I mentioned in the analysis post, Master is a bit different from Teacher. You usually only have one Master, and the Master only has one student. Some extra info from ChatGPT says Shisho Master refers to a mentor who has accepted a student in a close, often lifelong apprenticeship relationship. The bond between a Shisho and a Deshi is deep, like that of a parent and child, or master-disciple. A Shisho is not just someone who teaches skills, but someone who guides a student in life, values, and character. That's why Sasuke was likely hesitant to accept Boruto calling him that at first, or uncomfortable with it. So I don't even need to read Kata, because I still just hate this. Like, this is still just dumb based on Boruto Part 1. Like, clearly...
Wait, again, no, I skimmed through this. So real quick,
Mm-hmm.
In Boruto, when he calls Sasuke Shiso from the beginning, I think it's a weird thing to say, but it shows that he acknowledges Sasuke as his guide and mentor in the same way martial artists start with learning kata. Like, from now on, he will listen to everything Sasuke says, and he highly values his opinions and deeply respects them. That's what he wants to start the relationship with. It also highlights his growth and maturity in terms of discipline since the time he was a kid, because he used to refer to Sasuke without much respect. Uncle Sasuke became Sasuke-san, and then became deeply respected Shiso. So again, problems. He absolutely highly valued Sasuke's opinion and deeply respected him. Like in chapter 47, like that talk with Sasuke and Boruto was clearly of a respect.
Not just chapter 47.
Highly valued his opinion, was looking for Sasuke to kill him if need be. That's how much he respected Sasuke as his teacher. He was very disciplined with Sasuke at this point in time. And he just did refer to Sasuke as master a decent amount of the time. Like, yes, it wasn't 100% always master. But you know what? You know what? Two Blue Vortex? You know what? Ikimoto? You know what? Iki fucking Moto? It's not 100% of the time in Two Blue Vortex either. You know why? Because he went out of his way to stop saying master to instead say the not honorific old man Sasuke. Old man Sasuke. Old man Sasuke. He's not doing it 100% of the time in Two Blue Vortex. The same way he didn't do it in part 1. As far as I'm concerned, yes, they clearly are trying to have Boruto generally be more respectful towards Sasuke, but objectively, there's no difference.
Bro, okay, people, I think... Bro... This is why I just don't like Sauron trying to defend this at all. Are people forgetting the beginning of Boruto? The very first thing we saw in the Boruto movie. The second that Naruto got stolen away by Momoshiki, Boruto and Sasuke became master and student. Okay, say whatever you want about Sasuke teaching Boruto the Shadow Clones or the Rasengan. He technically didn't teach him either, but you get the idea. In that way, yes, Sasuke was being the same type of role as Konohamaru has been ever since after Naruto got blasted away by Momoshiki. It's been clearly different. The fact that Sasuke agreed and accepted to allow him to go with him to fight Momoshiki and gave Boruto his headband. Are people forgetting that? Gave Boruto Sasuke did that. That is not something that a teacher in Konohamaru would just randomly do to like teach Boruto some new jutsu.
Let's
or
also
something.
Just look at the things that Sasuke says real quick to him. Probably chapter 7, but let's just skim through these.
Like, this is beyond.
I think
just
people forget
the
heart to heart these characters have.
Exactly.
So he's all sad.
Put on
Naruto's
Naruto's
you got
outfit.
that right. Your father's exposed. Blah blah blah. And you lost your father on top of that. It's similar to Naruto's, except you still have this, blah, blah. Seems you finally want to learn more than just his weaknesses. Well, you should ask how you risk him, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so are we really pretending
you're my number one student, aren't you? Like, Sasuke's convincing Boruto here. Like, Sasuke was, okay, I know omnipotence, but, like, Sasuke's telling Boruto, like, you are my number one student. Like, I'm telling you, Boruto, you are my student.
Like, going back to
why are you helping me, Sasuke? Because you're my number one student.
Yeah.
Gives him a big pep talk.
Yeah, bro, this is not teaching him jutsu.
You think he's still not a student? Thanks for the pep talk, but that's laying it on a bit thick. But you will, since I'll be training that son of his. Like, he's really making it clear that this is master and student.
Yeah, go back to the notes real quick. The note page. So again, I'm just gonna read this. ChatGPT says Shiso refers to a mentor who has accepted a student. Okay. In a close, often lifelong apprenticeship relationship. The bond between a Shisho and a Denshi is deep, like that of a parent and child, or master-disciple. A Shisho is not just someone who teaches skills, but someone who guides a student in life, values, and character. Did that not just perfectly describe Chapter 5?
More than the skills.
Yeah.
Sasuke's main goal in this arc, with all of his conversations with Boruto, is not the skills. but to guide him in life values in this one right here. Character.
Exactly.
Like, that is what he's trying to teach Boruto. Character. First arc. And, oh, you know who wrote this? Kishimoto and Kadachi.
Yeah, like Sasuke
when we
knew.
say Kishimoto pretends Kadachi doesn't exist, yeah, he's pretending the Boruto movie doesn't exist too.
Sasuke knew that Boruto was cheating from the very beginning. I think he knew that Boruto was the one who threw Naruto's outfit out the window. He's the one who saw it. He's the one that brought it back to the house. Boruto punched him to meet him there.
He tells Naruto that, like, you know, like, Boruto did it, basically.
Yeah. And so seeing Boruto in this outfit, giving him his headband, it's very clearly, obviously, going along with the bet that Naruto and Sasuke have in this arc as well. He's going through Boruto, his student, to prove Naruto right in life.
Literally.
Literally to change Boruto. You know, to be not like Momoshiki.
Exactly.
You know, as opposed to training him for the tuning exams.
It's like, so what are we supposed to interpret from all this? So after this whole arc, you're telling me that Boruto didn't view Sasuke as his master? You know, when he, if you want to count the anime, when he desperately ran to the Sand Village to find Sasuke because he wants his master to train him? He's gonna ignore that?
You know, when Konohamaru was right there. How about when
Boruto sees Sasuke again for, like, the first time after the Mujina Bandits? I don't even know what he's gonna say. Let's just see how he reacts to him. See what his behavior is. Oh man, Sasuke, is he gonna listen to him or something like that? Is he gonna, like, take Sasuke and be like, oh, actually, you know what? I bet you Sasuke says, oh, he'll come around to it because he's my student or something.
While you're finding this, I want to say I'm confident I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to repeat the same formula they had with Naruto, to where Naruto looked at Jiraiya in part 1 the same way he would as Kakashi. That's just another one of Naruto's teachers. Whereas, going into the time skip, Jiraiya became his father figure, teaching Naruto, instilling into him actual real life values to help him grow and mature as a person rather than just as a shinobi. Really, it's synonymous, the two together. So he became his master in that regard, and that's what they're trying to do here. Except they already did that in the Boruto movie. They've already done it. They don't need to do it again. It ruins
exactly.
Retcon ruins like, everything.
Well, I mean, you really just nailed it spot on. It's very clear by the way Boruto thinks and talks about Sasuke versus Konohamaru. He just doesn't see them the same. Like, they're not synonymous whatsoever. Sasuke's his, like, Konohamaru's his big bro. Yeah, it's technically his sensei, but like he views Konohamaru as Konohamaru sensei and Sasuke as Master Sasuke. Like, he just, the same way Naruto, Kakashi sensei and Master Jiraiya / Pervy Sage. Like, there just is a different view there. Exactly. This is even pre-time skip for both of them. Like,
yeah.
But anyway, this one's not overly different. But
yeah, hopefully we don't spend as long as we did on that one.
No, some of these will be a lot quicker.
Okay, do you want me to do the question for this one?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a reason why Damon and Ada wear astronomy-themed accessories?
I wanted to leave the impression that they don't fit into the Naruto and Boruto world,
cool.
And that the two of them have completely different powers. In that way, the space motif seemed fitting. So I thought don't fit in was just the interesting part.
Yeah,
like he's just trying to say, like, they stand out.
Mm-hmm. Like that.
Next one is basically the same, but it just... Okay, I'll just point out the interesting things.
Important.
Specifically, it's not a published work. He writes down things he wants to question, correlation charts of various living things, and more. But correlation charts. So he's drawing graphs in there.
I really hope we get like a database just showing off what's in Jura's notebook or something.
Yes, that'd be cool. The Tayaki's just the same.
Yeah.
This is really the same, honestly. We can just skip it. Okay. I think the next ones are the three that are most different. So starting with this one, what was the intensity? Actually, okay, I'm gonna read this. Okay, I'll read the first and last one. What was the intensity that Damon felt from him? Wait, sorry.
Was the
You know what? I'm gonna read the question for all three of these and let you read the answers.
Okay.
What was the intensity that Damon felt from Himawari? The presence. Was the intensity that Damon felt from Himawari the presence of Kurama?
Kamui, I've never seen you struggle harder in my life. I literally just told you what it was.
Aren't there?
You refuse to not say what at the beginning of that. Like 4 times in a row. Okay, was the intensity of the Damon felt from Himawari the presence of Kurama? To put it precisely, it was the Uzumaki and Hyuga blood she inherited, as well as an effect of her synergy with Kurama and the resulting potential. In other words, he sensed the possibilities within her at the time.
Yeah. So, 2 things. The possibilities within her at the time, you can interpret this 2 ways. You can interpret as future, but I think the most literal interpretation is what she currently has, what that can possibly do. So it's not like some future thing that's going to merge together. Just she already has all of it, just a matter of when she uses it.
Mm-hmm. I also want to note
the second thing is,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a difference between it was the synergy with Kurama and a difference with an effect of her synergy with Kurama. That is different.
In this is also separating the Hyuga blood from the synergy with Kurama.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that her synergy with Kurama isn't because of this, hypothetically, but like it's not just this synergy, it's this blood and the synergy that may or may not have to do with this at all.
I mean, it'd be really weird if he's just freaking out over the fact that she just has Uzumaki and Hyuga blood.
Exactly, I know, because like, okay, all at Suzuki.
Yeah, like, why wasn't Damon freaking out about Boruto? Like, did the 82% whatever of Suzuki genetics really override his DNA that much?
Yeah, like, or is Suzuki just, is Boruto getting nerfed over time by that? Like, the Hyuga and Uzumaki blood just was better. I don't know, but that's that one. Skip over to this one for a minute. After the Great Calamity, where and how did Himawari start living her life?
After the Great Calamity is crazy. That's just coming out of nowhere. Why wasn't that in the original?
I think I forgot what they called it, but in chapter 1, they called it, this what might have been, I think this was in the original fan translations, but they called it something like that, the Great Calamity. It had some wacky ass name that Viz just dropped. But.
Okay. So where and how did he live that? Of her own wishes, she lives in the Uzumaki residence alone and does all of the housework by herself. Himawari feels that one day her parents will return, so she wants to protect their place of belonging. Yes, that goes along with the interpretation that I was saying as well that one time.
Exactly. So this is just the best translation. Like this makes it the most good. The only thing is, so this almost just makes Hanabi and Hiyashi look bad. Like they're just unwilling to move in with her. They're like, you come with us or nothing, girl. But also, I feel like, to be fair, Himawari could just live with Hanabi and just make it a point to every day, clean up the house, clean up the dust and all that. Just check on the house every day. The same way Konohamaru did for Naruto over the time skip. Like,
so
good to do that.
So do you agree that they're trying to make a parallel between Kid Himawari and Kid Naruto, both living alone?
Maybe because they did that's what my dad would do, and they're also doing it with Boruto being alone. But like, if they are, it's just bad because this is by choice. It's by choice.
Yeah,
and she has friends and literally has family members.
And exactly, and the reason why that's so bad, especially for the Naruto franchise, is, hey Kamui, do you remember what Kid Naruto taught us about loneliness?
It's bad.
Yes. And Himawari's choosing it.
Before we go back to the notes, wait, let's.
Did you want to go back to?
We could look at this real quick. I don't know what this says.
Okay.
Apparently kids do grocery shopping and walking to school by themselves from age 6 in Japan. They also do the house chores and laundry and cooking at a young age. Blah blah blah. Basically, kids grow up early. If she moved in with the Hugos, no one would have been there to maintain the house, and it would have deteriorated. Okay, this is just a little bit over exaggerated, but also like, again, she can just make it a daily point to go there and clean up the house. You don't have to live there to do that.
Yeah, 6 is just so young.
Yeah, but this is interesting. Specifically, what it says, Himawari wants to protect. The Japanese definition is an environment where a person can relax and thrive. It really just refers to a place where you feel comfortable and at home. She wants to protect a place where everyone belongs together, her sense of family, and yes, it's very sad. I don't think it's sad. I think it's inspiring, if anything. She feels comfortable at home. There you go. This is, honestly, it's kind of stuff we just already know. Momoshiki showing her feelings for Konohamaru, but she might have suppressed them, unlike Matsuri. Let's just say. But Shiki turning teenager we never got to be, blah blah blah. Saki just was always doing this anyway. Bug as well, being extremely forward with Ada, when before he felt like he had no right to stand in her presence, blah blah blah. I don't know. Anyway, that's that. Okay,
what
so
I like right there is going back to it. And the top paragraph there's the whole concept of Hane versus Tatame that refers to the true feelings that you usually keep hidden versus the front you put on, your outward appearance, which I really like that everyone else sees, which I really like specifying the difference there with an actual word, which means it's like a thing that they've taken note of in Japan and probably Japanese society, which I really hope that is what they're actually playing with in a very direct and purposeful way.
Yeah, but then they gotta like do some of that stuff a little bit more.
Yes.
But anyway. So I hate to spoil you, but I think you realize by now this is the one, and it's just a matter of you noticing the thing.
Okay.
Is there any relationship between the vision that Boruto saw of the future when talking with Obito and Kashin Koji's Shinjutsu 10 paths? Now I want to say right now, there's more than one thing I want to talk about, but I think you'll know the thing when you see it.
Okay. That is one of Momoshiki's unique abilities that allow him to look into a fragment of the future that directly concerns him. Okay.
Just read the whole thing. Just read the whole thing and we'll cover everything after.
It has elements that are similar to 10 paths, but it is not something that has been established at Shinjutsu, but rather something that is backwards compatible in terms of performance.
So, Oodie, what is the thing?
Well,
I think you might have paused before it.
Well, backwards compatible is a very interesting word.
I think it's familiar, isn't it?
Yeah. Man, it's really nostalgic for us.
And I didn't realize there was a note for it until you'll notice I scrolled earlier and put it right back at the moment I saw it. So I had a very difficult time translating this because the word there can mean both backwards and forwards compatible. Which one is it? Bro, I just put backwards because it kind of seemed to be hinting that it was slightly inferior, but at the same time, that sentence didn't really make much sense to me. I'll put it here for anyone who wants to do more research into it. Ikimoto talks like Koji. I now understand where Koji gets it from. Okay, well, Oodie, would you like to translate this and see what you think it means?
Well, the left thing is 10 directions. Okay.
Oh, you mean Parisians?
Shinjutsu. That question that is. A whole bunch of Japanese there anymore. Can I get so much? Okay, so now that I read all that, let me actually decipher it with. Oh, there's also a Sauron in the member who wants to speak. So shout out Sauron, invite to speak. Whenever Sauron feels like it. Okay, there we go. Sauron.
I go get some
Hello,
cereal
hello,
while you
hello.
translate this.
Hello, Sauron.
So do you think these translations are like... I find these translations to be better.
Oh, way better. All of them.
They're
So
way less silly. Even I thought the Sasuke one was slightly better too. I still, but like they're better. They're definitely better.
Oh, absolutely. Even the Momoshiki was. So besides the backwards compatible thing right now, there are other things I want to discuss with this, but I just do want to see Oodie's
Should we
translation
wait
just out of
until you
curiosity.
get your cereal?
I've got to do that, but like Oodie can say out loud his translation.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's saying backwards or compatible at all. I think it might be saying inferior.
Interesting. Well, so I know we've nostalgically used the word before without paying attention to what it means, but I did look up what it means because I was like, okay, what does this actually mean? And for example,
For video games.
like I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know which is the proper way to use backwards and forwards, but like in a Wii game, a Wii console, you can use GameCube games. So it's either forward or backwards there, but like the point is you can do old games with the newer console, basically. So
Yes.
So then you have to ask, okay, so if that's the case, what does it imply? Is it implying that 10 Directions can do whatever Momoshiki can? Or is it saying that like Momoshiki's able to do something that 10 Directions has? Like, is Momoshiki's the newer but inferior version? Or the older version? Like,
I feel like the 10 Directions one makes the most sense. It can do
which
everything
is
that
newer,
Momo's. No idea. You would think that I don't know. Wait, you would think that it would be Momo's because it says it's not established as a Finjutsu yet.
Exactly. So that was the thing. The other thing I want to talk about. It's not established as a
could-
Shinjutsu. So does that just mean like it needs to be like officially? But whatever the metrics are to make it, is it just hasn't been officially established as Shinjutsu?
And there's nothing wrong with it being a new ability, and it being inferior either.
Exactly. And what's also interesting though is he can look into parts of the future that directly concerns him. So he gets to like. So again, he doesn't see all possible future, but like he gets to pick out the things he cares about.
Yeah, and the things that could actually that he thinks would be beneficial towards him.
Yeah. And also this one, so this, okay, again, you can interpret the fragment stuff however you want, but taking this the way it is, I think you could argue what this means is when it says fragment for Momoshiki, it's not what Boruto saw with like, 10 images. He just sees a segment of the future. So a fragment of the future can mean, let's just say Tuesday up until Thursday of, or let's just, Monday, May 26th until Wednesday, May 28th. He could see that fragment of the future, but he sees that like a movie consistently. Because again, it doesn't make sense for him to tell Boruto, even if it was only fragments, you saw the same tableau as me. He would just say, you saw the same thing I saw. There's no reason to word it like that. So
yeah,
that's true.
Okay, I need to grab my cereal now.
I'm making a cereal meal.
A cereal meal? What does that mean?
Well, I'm combining granola Cheerios with some more granola, chia seeds, some yogurt, and some sausage, and some apple.
Look at you, Sauron.
With some nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla.
You're adding the whole periodic table into one meal. You go. Sheesh.
Yep, some fiber, some protein. It's gonna be good. I haven't done this in so long. I haven't had Cheerios in like, I don't know, in a year.
I think you just opened a dictionary and added everything you found.
Yeah, added, including the fruit. I like this combination though. It's really good. People always are like, "Why do you eat cereal that way?" Like I told Rain and everybody in that other server, I eat cereal this way, and they're like, "Why would you do that to yourself?" I'm like, "It's the best way to eat cereal.
Hey,
It's
fair enough.
way better. It's way better than just drinking it with milk. Way better.
Yeah.
Like objectively better."
But anyways,
But yeah, so could this be an ability that Momoshiki awakened recently? Well, relatively, I guess, because he is old.
The anime, he eats a chakra fruit before like Kinshiki shows up and tells him of the space curvature. So maybe he awakened it then.
Hey, I wouldn't mind that. They're never gonna address that though. But I wouldn't. That's not a bad one. I don't think.
yeah.
All right, let's cut up this apple.
But anyways,
Man, but these translations are a lot more interesting to read. There's even more to think about too with some of these. Ready to continue though?
well, are we
So,
continuing?
do you have a full translation, honey?
I wouldn't translate it as backwards compatible. I see why he's doing that. But no, I would just translate it as inferior because it's making like a comparison. It's a lower rank in comparison to. Yeah, do it. So, yeah.
Hey.
Cosmic apple. Actually, I don't want this one. I want the other one. Got
Aside
space
from
apples.
that, I think that yeah, it's basically just saying that.
It's worse.
It's not like you just said Wii Sports, but that's okay.
Okay.
But anyway,
Okay, there's a dead air here.
oh, I get my for real this time. Next topic.
Well, Zara, did you have anything?
I don't know if I have anything more to say about this one because all I know is it's just a lot more interesting to think about than the other one, and I like the whole. It's a lot of. I would find it weird. The whole established as a Shinjutsu thing. I find that bizarre, but because I don't really know what that means. But what would that mean? Like, what has to be established as a Shinjutsu?
So
That has
I
to
see
mean he
it.
awakened this ability recently.
I see it as two different possibilities. One, I think I like and hate more than the other. So the one that I like and hate more than the other is the story hasn't confirmed that it is indeed a Shinjutsu yet, but it is. The story just hasn't said it.
Oh, that'd be
Right.
less interesting.
I think that just is the answer.
That'd be both cooler in terms of a plot twist and lamer in terms of we already thought that to be the case anyways. So
Exactly. Something like that would just confirm what I already thought. So thank you for putting a doubt in me that I had no doubt about before.
I think
And
that's
just for
what
you to be
it is.
like, yes, don't worry, you were correct the first time. Then why'd you put the doubt in me in the first place?
Exactly.
I hate that.
The
I
other
think he's right,
possibility is that the Otsutskis are just the ones who decide which jutsus are divine jutsus or
Yeah.
not, and Momoshiki just hasn't called it a Shinjutsu yet because he doesn't consider it a Shinjutsu as of right now, but in the future, maybe that changes.
Why wouldn't he? He views himself as such a god.
He views very highly of himself.
Whereas, yes, I don't think he's considering every single punch and kick he does a Shinjutsu.
No, I don't think so.
I feel like of all Otsutsuki, he would be the one to do that.
He'd be like, my
He's stupid.
kicks are so divine and special. Way better than you, Kenshiki.
Yeah,
Even
my
though it's just
Shin
objectively
Taijutsu!
Even though like Kenshiki like seems way more confident as a combatant.
Kinshiki just was better at it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
So Kamui, am I still looking at your screen? What are we doing
But yeah, you're right. Either one of those work.
I'm not. You can ignore my screen.
here? Okay, we'll go to another topic.
Yeah, I'll be down in a minute.
Okay, well, let's go to Boruto topics, and okay, I forgot what this means, but okay. But yeah, okay, so here, Sauron, I'm glad you're here for this. So Sauron, especially in light of the new interview, why would Ikimoto write it to where Damon is commenting on Boruto's Uzuhiko, but when Himawari powers up versus Jura, not a peep. We don't even show Damon's reaction.
Yeah, is that just like Damon? It was a little too far away, and Damon just couldn't sense it or something.
No, because Damon could sense Uzuhiko from, freaking 10 miles away. And if anything, their locations should be about the same. If not, this is kind of baseless, but because, that apartment's just somewhere on the outskirts of the village, when they start to leave the village, for all we know, that's actually getting closer to Ada and Damon.
I'm pretty sure where they were was significantly further than where the village is.
Okay,
Because,
are we really gonna pretend that Damon's sensory range is perfectly like half a mile, and everything beyond that he just doesn't have any sensory at all, despite it being Damon?
I mean, I have no reason to believe his sensory goes like miles and miles and miles and miles and miles.
Well, it goes whatever the distance between Konoha and the apartment is at the very least.
Are we really gonna pretend like that's the reason? At this point, you're trying to come up with anything instead of going with something actually the most logical. No offense.
Why can't it just be as simple he just didn't sense it?
Because he sensed the first one. Like, if this interview didn't happen, and if the Himawari thing...
He also sensed the Himawari thing when she wasn't even doing anything.
Like, this would not be your explanation going into it.
Why wouldn't you just say, well, he was able to sense the curvature of the planet, and that's what the Uzuhiko was doing in the first place? Why not say that instead?
You're only making up this explanation after the fact because it tries to justify this.
Because, like, I could have said that instead. I agree that it would be a little odd that his sensories doesn't go miles and miles and miles back.
Such a very specific, so perfect range. So convenient.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I wouldn't have like an issue with that. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Your sensory doesn't go that far.
Listen, whatever. It's perfect. But the point isn't that. Forget the range, okay? The unspecified range. Why would the story at least not tell us this is his sensory range so that he doesn't know?
Then we're going to get into Damon and Himawari interaction in the future, so I just don't really care about this.
Yeah, and we should have already got another one in the past, when Himawari did her thing. The thing that Damon loved so much.
No, I feel like we can just get it later.
Okay, are we going to get a future Damon Uzuhiko reaction in the future? Do you care about that?
No, here we reacting to it.
Okay, so why did we get it in the first place?
Wait a minute. He reacted to Boruto's weaker Uzuhiko and code, but no reaction to the big one against Hidari.
Yeah. Oh, is that in a different part of the village just outside of Damon's sensory?
No, it's literally the same spot. It was relatively the same spot, so I don't even know. What does that mean?
Like, if he thought it was interesting before, he should have been like, wow, it's even more interesting.
Yeah, that's what you'd be asking.
So where's Damon?
Yeah, and I feel like all
freaking Avatar, he's not there when we need him most. He vanished.
I feel like all Damon would have said was just like, oh, you've not reached your potential yet or something. I don't know.
Okay, it doesn't matter what he would have said. My problem is the fact he said something in the first instance, but not in the instance that's more important. In that case, why even have him say it in the first instance at all?
I'm inclined to agree, but if it was in the village, I'd totally agree with you.
Bro.
If it was like actually in the village, I would totally agree.
Why are you pretending like they're like 10 miles away from the village anyways?
They flew a significant distance.
No, they didn't. It was still in sight. They could see Konoha.
Could they? I don't remember.
If it was so far, then why was Shikamaru telling the people just to go to where they are? To go assist? How could he even do that if they flew that far away?
Let's also not mention that, like, you know, besides Himawari, George just was being stronger than Himawari, and he still didn't care.
Yeah,
Jura's in the village at all times, and he just never cared.
Why did he react to Jura? I feel like that's a better thing.
Yeah.
Well, we're questioning all of it. Why is he reacting to weak Uzuhiko or nothing Himawari, but not reacting to any of these other things?
Nothing
Himawari. Reaction to Jura is a lot more significant to me than him maybe possibly not sensing Himawari for that far away.
But they're all important.
Yeah, but I only care about the one that was actually
okay. Well, I'm glad we're going with only what Sauron specifically cares. Okay. So, next topic. Once I get those moved over. Okay. Okay.
I'm just going to delete this Konohamaru Master one because we've said it a billion times. I finally found it.
Konohamaru Master one?
The fact that it's just about the fact that, like, they're saying, oh, Boruto respect, blah, 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 it's Sasuke. Okay, so what did Konohamaru do to change Boruto's respect of him?
Honestly, Sauron, we already went over it for like 20 minutes, and I was bashing you the whole time, so you're just going to have to go back on stream just to watch it after that.
I was waiting to watch it, but then you got to the Himawari question. I was like, I'll just join.
Well, back to Momoshiki for a second. Why would they have Boruto / Momoshiki use Momoshiki's Fierce Sight ability in the same chapter as Shinjutsu is explained if the ability isn't a Shinjutsu?
Sauron, you got any justifications for this one? Why would Ikimoto do that?
It's odd, but I don't. It's a nothing burger to me. I'm gonna be honest. It's kind of a nothing burger to me.
Sauron, in the chapter, okay, let's just say you're Ikimoto, and you're writing the chapter introducing the concept of Shinjutsu. What are you... And Momoshiki uses abilities in this chapter. What abilities are you going to write him using?
It'd be Shinjutsu. But if it's the thing that you said earlier, that it just hasn't been confirmed as Shinjutsu in the story, they're like, okay, then whatever, I guess. But like, I've already.
It's only implied to be Shinjutsu when Amino's explanation is, oh, they don't need hand signs.
Yeah. To me, since they specifically said it's not specified as a Shinjutsu, I'm like, okay, that means that it probably should be then. Okay. It just hasn't yet. So I'm like, okay, then it's just not classified as a Shinjutsu yet, but it is one.
Man, you're really holding on to my cope for dear life.
No, of course, I liked it.
Yeah,
I agree. I hope you are right. As stupid as it is, I hope that because I can't accept it not being a Shinjutsu.
I can't.
So I'll just take your version.
Even though I doubt it.
Doesn't make sense for it not to be a Shinjutsu. No, Ood, I think yours is actually probably likely. I'm not gonna lie. I think it might actually be likely.
Okay. I think it's both likely and the best answer at this point that we can have.
Yes. Like, I don't think that a lot of things I think are unlikely in this series. That one I think is probably likely. So I'm gonna roll with that for now because I like it and I think it makes sense.
So, Kamui, we were sort of expressing this sentiment earlier, but let's see if Sauron just agrees. This is nothing new, but the fact that Koji has Boruto being so ungodly important that the future is just dead without Boruto, this just means that Boruto is stronger than Sarada, right?
Yeah.
I'm at Sarada.
Yeah.
It should be.
Okay, glad you agree. Not just more
But like,
important.
you know that I already agreed that he was.
Yeah, since the goal
Okay.
seems to be taking out Jura, the strong guy.
So then, why is it, do you
In
think,
fact,
that Sarada, based off actual power scaling arguments, like we've been thinking about this,
in fact, Kawaki
why
seems
is it
to be
that
more
Sarada
significant as well.
basically has to be stronger than Boruto, if that's not the goal?
That's
Because we can show this, we can explain this fairly easily. So, Sarah, did you know that Sarada does noticeably better versus Hidari than Ryu on all fronts in pre-MS? Did you know that first and foremost?
Is this a trick question?
No, the answer is just yes, she did.
Okay.
you know Hidari, the
Okay.
Boruto level combatant.
Yeah, the one that
Mhm.
Boruto is just shown being relative to in chapter 4 in their briefing skirmish, and then asking Sarada and Konohamaru for help and backup, and then even after his Uzuhiko, Hidari was going to teleport through a claw mark before Boruto could get there and heal himself if Kawaki didn't show up and have anti-claw mark hacks. So that, that Boruto that's stronger than Sarada, he can basically maybe beat Hidari 1v1 if he goes all out, but like he's teaming up on him and it's still not really necessarily winning because Hidari's just going to heal.
Mhm.
So Sarada does better versus Hidari than Ryu, by the way. So the question is that because Sarada was just that mentally distressed over Sumire in the Sand Village, compared to when she was fighting her dad? Or option 2, Ryu is stronger than Hidari, including abilities. Or option 3, this is the most ridiculous one, but Ryu's not stronger, but his abilities are just so anti-Sarada that it made the fight harder than it would have been with any other Shinju. So which of those options do you think it is for why she does better against Hidari than Ryu?
I don't like any of it though.
Well, I agree, they're all ridiculous, but those are the only 3 possibilities.
Unless you have another one.
Yeah, unless you have any other reason you can give for why Sarada does better versus Hidari than Ryu. Oh, by the way, real quick, all of Sarada's feats versus Hidari are when Boruto isn't there or just is standing still, not doing anything.
Well, her only feat against Hidari, where Boruto isn't there, is literally just like countering his Chidori and then
when Boruto's standing still gathering Uzuhiko chakra, Sarada's reacting to Hidari grabbing her, Chidori streaming him and making him go, ah, and then yanking him out of the claw mark and slamming him throwing him in the air for Boruto to Rasengan Uzuhiko.
Mm-hmm.
You know what she did versus Ryu? While they're gang banging him with anti-Ryu Araya sword, she gets a too shallow Chidori that does nothing. That's the best she did. So the question is, why did Sarada do better versus Hidari than Ryu? What is your explanation?
I got nothing for that. I'm gonna be honest.
Well,
I forget most of the Ryu fight.
I got something for you, Kamui. So
I
what if?
forget it every.
But with that being said,
well, I have a question. Okay, so this is in reference to like basically how is Boruto not gonna die next chapter? I'm gonna walk away as I do something, but if you can read some of my options as well as present your own, how do you think Boruto's gonna not die next chapter or next 2 chapters, however long, before everything happens? Okay. So what do you think the reason will be?
Wow. Did you want to present yours or?
Well, I'm walking away for a moment, so you just throw some at me while I do things, and then I'll share some of the things I wrote down wherever I wrote that.
Okay, so immediately, I won't read yours off, but I will say for your first one, if Kawaki...
I will say real quick,
uh-huh.
I wrote several, some of which I don't think are likely, some I think are more likely.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, at this point, I'm a hater of the idea of Kawaki showing up. I
I agree.
don't want him to show up. That's the last thing I want to happen.
Pretty sure I have a thing written down for why I don't like it too, but
And it seems to be the thing that all the YouTube comment section just is craving for. They're not just anticipating it. They know it's gonna happen. They're expecting it. Oh, you're an idiot if you don't think Kawaki's showing up next chapter. No. If he does, then it's because Ikimoto's bad.
well, so this is what I wrote for that. Kawaki showing up is fine because of the limiter stuff in chapter 18, but that shouldn't realistically make Jura leave. They should still be unable to defeat him based on Koji's dialogue. If they can beat him now, he's not that big of a deal. The only saving grace would be that Boruto telling Kawaki to have Amano fix him up was done in secret behind Koji's back, meaning Koji doesn't know Kawaki would be strong enough to be able to defeat Jura. But if Kawaki is that strong, I don't see why he wouldn't just kill Boruto now, since he's strong enough apparently, which is obviously a problem. He's not going to do that. Kawaki also shouldn't know about this mission because he wasn't assigned to it. Only Team 7, Shikamaru, and Ada know. So who's telling him about this mission? Did Boruto tell him in secret about that too? Was Boruto just banking on Kawaki? Like,
the problem with this fight is that it's the most obvious fight to the death of all time. Jura's trying to kill Boruto, Boruto's trying to kill Jura. Neither of them are willing to back down. They're going to fight until one of them dies. And so it's going to have to be something convenient that are going to have to separate the two. The thing is, neither of them are going to die. Jura isn't going to die in this fight. Boruto isn't going to die in this fight.
exactly.
So
some other ones, real quick, the shorter ones are not that likely. Damon showing up.
That's my favorite.
Just be awesome.
It's more likely than Kawaki, in my opinion. Even if it's not going to happen. Like, Koji's literally talking to Ada right now. Ada could just say that.
Look, Sarada. I don't know how, but it would be the coolest option that won't happen.
It's absolutely got my vote. Number 1. I want to see it.
But it's probably not gonna happen. Yeah. Coach showing up and doing stuff. I think Coach showing up would be very cool and could work. I just don't feel confident that they're gonna do it.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in the plan since Code is kind of like a vigilante on nobody's side. He is on the Shinju side, but not really. But you get the idea.
I think Coach showing up is like one of the ones that I really like, and don't really have any problems with it. I just don't trust them to do it.
I'm not gonna lie. If Code was gonna show up, I wish they just didn't have the previous Code confronting the Shinju scene at all.
I kind of agree to some extent, but
I just don't want to know what Code's thoughts are ever since like chapter 4. I just don't want to have seen that. They're doing that. Have Code be the loose cannon, the oddball. We don't know what he's gonna do, who he's gonna team up with. Because the last thing we saw was Boruto ask him to team up and him leaving, not teaming up with him. So that would have been cool going into this if he shows up here for the first time. But anyway.
Another one that a lot of people are hyped for would be Momoshiki. And I said, Momoshiki coming out is a good consequence to Boruto's decision to show up, but it just would have been way more impactful last arc. Mm-hmm. But of the more likely options, I think this is probably my favorite. I'm just going to always think it would have been better last arc. And I'm also going to ask, why didn't he show up last arc? But I do think it's a good consequence to Boruto's decision, and it amplifies, messing everything up.
I do think it's likely because Momoshiki's going to want to take over since his vessel's about to die, and Boruto knows he can't die here, but he's going to.
Okay, but what about chapter 13? That's the problem there. But ignoring that, the problem is just chapter 13. It just is a problem.
But that one, to be fair, it was like a one-shot off guard in his back, and he fell unconscious. Whereas this time, Momoshiki knows what's happening. He can see it, and he's actively... Like, Boruto's in a long-term fight, seemingly. It's already been one chapter.
he was in a long-term fight against Hinari.
Boruto never thought he was going to lose that fight.
I don't think that matters. Well, is the point, is he letting Momoshiki out, or is Momoshiki counting out Willie? Like, or on its own? Like, what's happening there?
I feel like the only option is he has to let Momoshiki out, but...
But if that's the case, then it goes against Boruto's character.
I know. But it's the only thing
Especially
I can
if Walky shows up, then what's he going to tell him then? Hey, don't kill me, actually.
Yes. Well, they're just gonna keep doing that, though. Because Boruto knows he can't die because worst possible future, so he has to stay alive, but if he fights Jura and he can't get away because of the nonsense retcon flying Raiji nonsense, and so he can't beat Jura, he knows he's gonna die if he keeps fighting and he can't get away, so the only thing he can do is let Momoshiki out if Momoshiki has some get out of jail free card.
Yeah, like that's of the more likely options. That's probably my favorite, but I'm still gonna. I just have the problem with Chapter 13. Really, that's the big one more than anything. But I'll also add Jura just choosing to leave, just like Chapter 13. But like, this is one of the ones that I do kind of expect. I just don't want them. I want them to come up with a reason that makes more sense than Hidari rotting. I honestly don't trust them.
I mean, since they've already done the Hidari rotting thing, I expect them to do it again, especially since it's been even more time now, so it's even more relevant, in my opinion.
Yeah, but again, so I agree with you. And in terms of this arc, it would make sense. The problem is it just amplifies last arc because it's like, well, Jura, you know it would have just taken half a second to kill Boruto back then. So why didn't you just do it?
So you could say this goes along with his character from this latest chapter, to where he has a bad habit of fighting strong people when he probably shouldn't be. When he sniped Boruto...
Oh, so where was that bad habit in Chapter 13?
I know, but when he sniped Boruto, then there's nobody standing left who's strong to fight because Himawari's done as well, and we're just going to go with our interpretation of Sarada and Konohamaru and everyone else there.
Oh, yeah, and Kawagi.
Yeah,
this guy's weak.
Exactly. And so there's nobody left to embrace his bad habit with.
Okay.
And so even though Hidari isn't going to rot if he doesn't go back right now, Hidari has minutes as opposed to seconds, he's just going to play it safe than sorry and just like, it's like if you have a strawberry that's going to rot in like 3 weeks, but you're just going to eat it now just because you don't want to forget about it or whatever.
Yeah, okay. So I see what you're saying. So I have some questions that you might have ideas for. So first of all, because I actually do kind of like where you're going with this. My next question, though, is how do you feel about Jura telling Mamushi, let's retreat? Our foe is formidable. With that in mind. Because I have a response. You might think it's okay. At first glance, it looks really bad. I have a response. I don't know if you'll like it, but I have something.
So you're right. That looks really bad. I forgot he says that. That just 180 from what I said. Oh, God. Let's hear the response, though.
The response would be,
I don't have one.
He knows Boruto's formidable, and he wants to fight him in top 4,
Oh,
like Hisoka. So
okay.
he's like, let's retreat, so I can come back later.
So he
but if
can embrace it his bad habit.
Yeah, exactly. He's embracing his bad habit. He just wants to just do his bad habit, and that's why he's letting everyone spare, because he wants everyone to be strong so he can fight. He's basically just stealing Damon's character.
But I do have a debunk for
But if
that.
that's the case,
Why would he snipe Boruto to where he can't fight them in the first place?
Exactly. Why wouldn't he just fight Boruto?
Oh,
Why would he be like, I
okay.
decided you need to die. I'm going to off-guard shoot you.
No,
that,
okay.
like...
I have a counter-argument to that debunk to get it back on track. Boruto, currently at that time, wasn't strong because he was exhausted from his fight with Hidari.
So, why did Jura want to bother killing him at all?
Because he knows information on the soul lords.
So why didn't he kill him?
Because he wants to find him when he's strong.
Exactly. No, you can have these conflicting feelings, but I mean, my big thing is this. I'm fine with these contradictions with Jura, as long as another character, at this point, I don't even care if it's Boruto, as long as a character in the story, not us in the story, calls him out for it. Mamushi's always being like, who cares about humanity, Jura? Why are you so obsessed? Why do you want to devour Naruto? He's always questioning. Why isn't he questioning? He's questioned him about everything, except for the biggest thing of all to be questioning him about.
Mamushi is always your go-to whenever you bring this up. 100% of the time, the very first word out of your mouth after saying this concept is Mamushi, without fail.
But it's true, bro. Like, I want Mamushi to show up. I just want to pop out of Jura's claw mark and have him be like, why haven't you killed him yet, Jura? And then I want Mamushi to be like, fine, I'll do it myself, like Thanos. And then Jura's gonna watch him fight. Then Mamushi's actually gonna do it, and then Jura kills Mamushi because he doesn't want Boruto to die. And that's a big revelation.
I mean, it'd be pretty cool. I would not be doubting it.
That's the only way to get around this Jura nonsense.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But even then, let's just say Momoshiki does come out. That still shouldn't be enough to beat Jura. Because if it is, then Momoshiki should be the world's worst possible future.
It depends how strong Momoshiki is right now, but there is a cop-out answer to whereas Boruto can't use Flying Raijin and teleport away, maybe Borushiki can.
No, Momoshiki's just better at it.
Yeah, which could be in and of itself really cool, but the more realistic explanation I could see is that Momoshiki just opens his Otsutsuki portal thing through Karma or something else and teleports away that way instead of Flying Raijin.
Yeah, but that takes a lot. Like, but we've already seen before that like Sasuke can kick Jigen away so that he can't do that. Jura should be able to do the same.
But at the same time, Koji's just wrong. Boruto has time to focus and teleport away. Okay,
I know.
Jura captured him and gave a whole monologue after he walked up to the sword. The only reason Boruto didn't teleport away is because he wanted the sword back. He could have teleported back to Koji at that moment. He could have just focused. He had the time. He
could have teleported to the sword, then just teleported away instead of doing Uzuhiko. It's because Boruto wanted to fight this dude.
Or, you know, he could have just, like, grabbed a sword and, like, beheaded Jura instead of explaining, oh, you've been hit with Uzuhiko. Oh, I bet you can't even stand. Oh, I bet flying is hard for you. Like, why is he explaining his technique?
Exactly. Giving Jura hints on how to undo it.
Literally, yeah. Like,
also,
Jura,
did
I bet
Koji
you didn't
tell
even...
Boruto that Uzuhiko wouldn't work? Because Boruto seems surprised. Like, I feel like Koji should have just told him, like, hey, you know, by the way, Uzuhiko's not going to work on this day.
Yeah, I don't think Ikimoto thought that far.
What's Koji doing?
10 Directions doesn't see the future. It sees Ikimoto's future.
Yeah, like, even that I don't know, because it seems like everything Koji saw won't be what Ikimoto writes.
Yeah. It saw the future right up until the present when Koji reveals that he saw up till this moment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I thought of another thing. So I hate to say it, but I think this just might be true for the most part. So this, you have to ignore some of the small things you need to tweak. But if you just delete the previous arc, so the Jura Hidari invasion, not the stuff that comes before it, like with Mitsuki and Sarada, Sumire, and Boruto talking, just once they show up. If you delete all that...
Oh, so now we're separating pre-arc and arc stuff, but we're not doing that for Search for Tsunade arc. Okay.
Well, there's a reason for what I'm saying. You just replace... So just delete that, then continue... So there's two versions of this. You just... Wait, hold on. I think I wrote this slightly weird.
Okay.
Hold on.
Do you want me to try it?
Okay, I see. Okay, I see. Okay, I was trying. Hold on a second.
Shout out J-Man.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out who that was at first.
I thought it was gonna be one of your editors.
I thought it was too. That's what I was trying to figure out. That he changed his profile picture.
That's right.
Wait, hold on a second.
Now we want to know what J-Man said. Oh my god. Why are we not Boruto's writers at this point?
Like, I feel like we can just half-ass come up with things off the top of our head that oftentimes we have a lot of good ideas, but sometimes they're not even that good, yet they're still way better.
I mean, it's not even like adjusting what's already been written. Don't forget, like, in an hour, we just basically wrote Sasuke the Last. Just from scratch.
Literally, and it was good.
Like in a freaking hour, bro. Again, why are we not Boruto's writers?
Yeah, actually, that could be a segue to your Kaguya talk to Jujutsu thing, but that might be too long of a discussion. I'll let you read this thing you wrote.
Well, okay. I do want to say, I think it was your last DM to me was saying, Oodie, we need to end by this time. Don't let me stay longer than that. It's like, don't let me. Because I know I can't do it myself. Oodie, I need you to do this, please. Don't let me.
Okay. So I'm almost done eating. I'll let you have a choice. You can either read your thing and then we end after this, or you can just end stream whenever and then tell me after you've already secretly done it that you ended stream. So I'll let you decide when that is.
Okay,
but
that's stupid.
The
I'm
latest
not doing that.
is after you read that.
I can absolutely say this, at least if you want to zoom in, at least. Maybe that'd be nice.
Yeah, go ahead and read it while you eat.
If you could zoom in, that'd be even better.
Oh.
Control
Why
plus?
isn't it working?
Oh,
I'm hitting the wrong buttons.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Exactly.
So, if Boruto is just wrong on the Shinju, and they are more than just trees, and so this is again obviously in reference to the latest chapter of Boruto Chapter 22 of 2 Blue Vortex. 222, if you want to say it that way.
Of 2 Blue Vortex.
Tukes, yeah. Yeah, if you remember, Boruto's fighting Jura, and Jura grabs a sword, and Boruto teleports to him and is like, oh, you can never understand love because you're just trees. Or, yeah, I'm bastardizing what he says, but you get the idea. Yeah, so Boruto could just be just wrong on that, but here's my thoughts on that. So about that, I want it to be that Boruto knows this and is telling himself this in order to make it easier to not let his heart waver, so he can kill them for the greater good, despite not wanting to. So basically, he's doing what Konohamaru couldn't do in reference to Shikamaru's plan. Oh, did your heart flutter just now? Well, don't let it. You gotta backstab him. But like,
well,
in this
no,
case,
I
he's
actually
being cold-hearted.
I actually really liked this because then it just. Well, I just think that's good, but also. Shout out Chimera Ant arcs. What do you know? Another thing that I feel like Ikubo is ripping off the Chimera Ants if all this stuff is true. But Netero does the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. He's listening to Meruem talk and he's like, you're wavering. You're about 50-50, blah, blah, blah. I have to kill you now before my heart wavers, basically. Like he's telling himself the same thing, basically.
Well, it's almost, in a way, the antithesis of this idea. Because his heart isn't wavering, he's trying to kill before his heart does waver, whereas Konohamaru's heart is wavering, and he has to make it not waver to kill her.
Yeah.
So kind of cool.
I think this would be really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Because, to some extent, like, Boruto should have knowledge on Matsuri, like in Konohamaru.
Yeah.
Maybe if Koji's freaking telling Shikamaru about it, I think he told Boruto about it. Let's just be honest here. He knows that Matsuri likes Konohamaru. He knows they're capable of love. He knows they're more than just trees. He might see, like, hey, you have instincts as tentails that are diametrically opposed to your humanity, just like the ants and Chimera, the ant versus human thing in the Chimera Ant arc. But The Chimera ants are more than just ants. The question is, where will they lean towards? But they're still objectively, no matter what, more than just ants. They have the human elements. Same with the Shinju. They are more than just trees. They have a human elements.
Yeah.
Boruto knows this.
And
So
we could
I really
say,
like your explanation.
we could say that Boruto's changed since part 1. Look at his smolder face and his aura farming. He's clearly a darker, different character. He's mature. He's a man now, as Mello would put it. I don't think so. Whenever Boruto has the opportunity to ignore omnipotence and let his guard down, like, for example, around Sarada and Sumire, he just has, like, a much softer expression, and he's just acting basically like his part 1 self, just without the over-optimistic excitement or whatever, because he still is in the same circumstances. But you get the idea. He's more relaxed. He's
It's like
more
adult
able to be
Naruto
himself.
versus kid Naruto. It's just
Yeah,
normal maturity to some extent.
I agree. Exactly. It's losing the hyperactive part of his knuckleheaded ninja-ness.
Yeah.
It's a stupid way, but it works so well. So I definitely think that Boruto is the same, like, character morality-wise as part 1. And part 1
Minus
Boruto...
his result to die, of course.
Yeah, in part 1 Boruto would want to help out those who needed. He wouldn't want to discriminate. He wouldn't want to just see the divine trees as just trees. Even if you look at the Mitsuki desertion arc, Mitsuki retrieval arc, whatever you want to call it, he's not looking at the fabrications as just fabrications. They're his enemies, so he has to fight them in order to get Mitsuki back, but he's seeing them as human, in my opinion. In fact, I'd argue...
The whole arc is about that Mitsuki's a human,
I'd argue
not just a thing.
Boruto learned his lesson in this arc. It was more about Mitsuki's lesson, but Boruto still learned it regardless. Not his lesson, but he learned this lesson, at the very least. So if anything, it'd be a reversion character.
Well, would be the first time Ikimon ignored the anime, but besides that...
But the fact that Boruto even learned it at all proves that he was willing to learn. He wanted to learn this to an extent. And so I don't think that would have gone away or changed.
He also just knows that Mitsuki's an artificial being, even in the Boruto manga. Like, they have Mitsuki say it.
Yeah.
Like, he knows. And he's, like, accepting of it as a concept.
Yeah. There is the other end of this, to where I do think Boruto is still his part 1 self. But his part 1 self, whereas I do agree that it is very accepting, and I don't think it's very bratty at all. So I do think Boruto would be the type of person to be helping out or trying to look at the Shinju, possibly wanting to talk no jutsu them or whatever. If you look at the very bottom, there is, like, the flip side of this, the dark side of humanity, if you want to scroll down just a little bit, if you can. Actually, no, I don't think you need to at all. So the additional edit that I added after the fact, a couple days later, which sort of goes with this top part, Boruto doesn't want to answer, let alone talk to Jura or be reasonable, and only wants to kill him by any means necessary, because Boruto only wants to see him as a Ten Tails tree, and probably is associating, therefore venting, his feelings of Otsutsuki to Jura, which is what Kawaki should be doing in the first place, but that's besides the point. But it could be like Gojo and Geto, to where Gojo wanted to do it more impulsively and outwardly on the surface level, in terms of, like, in the shower with the Q people there,
killing
or whatever,
the,
them.
killing the people clapping.
Yeah, and then Geto told him not to, but we know that Geto was the more genuine and deep-rooted in his sentiment in terms of his desire to kill them, even though he, in that moment, expressed wanting to do the right thing.
Exactly.
It's like he meant it, but didn't do it, and then Gojo wanted to do it even if he didn't mean it. He would have regretted it.
Yeah. Another thing to consider, though, and this is one of the big differences between the Chimera Ants and the Shinju situation. So there just is a way to revert these people back. Like, you can just bring Moegi back, bring Sasuke back, and so on. And I think that does play a role. Boruto might not want to see their humanity because, well, he wants to bring Sasuke back above all else. But if he were to see Hidari as a genuine human, how can he bring himself to do that? Like, to kill Hidari for Sasuke at that point, if he sees them both as human. And I think that also plays into the he doesn't want to be reasonable with Jura, because if he's reasonable, he has to accept Sasuke, Moegi, and all them just being gone. Because it is unreasonable towards the Shinju to just be like, screw you. Like, that's not being reasonable.
Yeah, well, I mean, when he looks at Hidari, he's probably he hates Hidari. So he doesn't even want to accept Jura or Hidari as a person. He wants to hate them because he sees Hidari, he sees his own weakness and his failure to save Sasuke when he sees Code, which is what he associates to Kara, which he associates to the Otsutsuki, which he associates to Momoshiki, which gets back to the whole heart of this idea in the first place.
Yeah, the question is whether it does go backwards that far in Boruto's case or not. I don't know. Like you said, this is really supposed to be the Kawaki point, because Kawaki is the Geto-like character. Yeah. But they could do an interesting thing with Boruto there too.
I mean, Boruto's supposed to hate Momoshiki, it feels like, but at the same time, it feels like at the end of part 1, he's almost like, he's not like laughing with him, he's laughing at him.
Hey, I got you. Yeah. Like, he doesn't hate him. He's like freaking picking his nose. So like,
it's like, does he really even hate him at this point? I don't even know. Like, he's supposed to be scared to death of him and like genuinely hate him deep down based on the fact if he takes over, then he knows people are going to die that he loves, and so he hates that aspect. But I mean, same wavelength. Maybe that's a reason that he doesn't actually hate him. It kind of feels like, to a degree, how Naruto felt about Kurama towards the beginning of the war arc, except Ikimoto's just doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Skipping over a lot of vital steps.
Good.
Boruto's not trying to go after Momoshiki's hatred one day, that's for sure. Not the end of part 1, anyway.
It's like he wants to just ignore the problem entirely.
Yeah.
Which could be his flaw, but like, I don't know.
That's
kind of the aspect to where I would like to see Momoshiki come out here so that we can play into some of these things, or at least get answers on them. Because Momoshiki comes out and then eventually goes away. Boruto's going to have some thoughts about that, right? And then we can get some insight as to what you wrote here. But if Momoshiki doesn't come out, we're just going to continue to not get answers on that.
I mean, just as how I associated Hidari and to an extent Jura to Momoshiki in the way of, to where basically because Momoshiki exists and all of Boruto's experience with Momoshiki, he's going to by default have a bias towards Jura and Hidari, who he sees as Otsutsuki. But even regardless of that, irregardless, some may say, shout out to yeah, you know exactly what I'm saying.
I know.
Okay, I hate to say it, that made me lose my point. Doing that stupid bit. I never should have said irregardless.
Something to Momoshiki.
I definitely was saying something Momoshiki related, wasn't I?
Just a rewind stream for a minute.
No. It's funnier if I don't, if at this point. This irregardless made me lose it. It's gone. It's in the ether. It's in the void. It was sent to Daikokuten. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, I remember. Okay. So in the same way that he's like doing all those possible different associations, I wonder if he's doing any associations to Omnipotence or Ada in regards to Shinjutsu being Otsutsuki, since he already did learn that from the Amado conversation. So I want to see Boruto's thoughts on Omnipotence, if he is disassociating the two, or if he's connecting the two in his brain, subconsciously even. Like, what are his thoughts on Omnipotence, besides just, oh, I've accepted it and I gotta form new memories? Okay, but like, does he hate Omnipotence? Like, what does he actually think about Omnipotence, rather than what he's going to do about it?
Chapter 80, he just can't stop thinking about Kawaki, and that's all he has to say about it.
Yeah, but that's when Omnipotence just happened. You could argue he's still in like the 5 stages of grief, you know, very traumatic event just happened. He's learning to... He's going through denial, basically, at the time. Like, 3 years later, after he's learned to live with omnipotence. It's become one and the same with Boruto himself. How does he feel about it after all this time?
It was so traumatic, he didn't despair.
I think you get what I'm trying to say, though. Like, does he hate the concept of omnipotence, regardless of the fact that it was used on him? Against him, even? Because it's Otsutsuki related?
Oh.
Because it was used on him? Like, what are Boruto's true, genuine thoughts on him? Yeah. Like, hypothetically, regardless of his feelings of Ada right now, let's just say that Koji implanted Boruto with Shibai cells and he unlocked omnipotence. Is he even going to use it? Or does he just hate omnipotence? Is it going to be like Scientific Ninja Tech in the OW arc, to where he just hates omnipotence?
I think he would treat it simply as like a cheat. He wouldn't use it.
Okay, so he wouldn't use it to do anything at all? Or do you think he'd use it to do, like, small things, but not like a get-out-of-jail-free card?
It'd be whatever it's convenient for Yukimoto, but character, I think he just wouldn't use it at this point.
Okay. Now that's
otherwise, I feel like it's just cheating his character to some extent.
Okay. So, same sort of tangential vein here. If he just had a button, okay, a literal physical button in his head, a scientific ninja tech that Amado developed and gave it to Boruto, and if he presses that button, Ada just loses omnipotence. Would Boruto press that and take away Ada's omnipotence permanently? Like, not the omnipotence that's casted. I mean Ada's ability to use omnipotence. And so the love charm and the Boruto Kawaki swap are still going to stay.
I think like he would only do that under, I would say no, unless the following criteria, which is Ada he knows Ada wants to lose it, or B, Ada hasn't said she wants to lose it, but Boruto knows it's actively harming her and for her best if she lost it. Those are like situations where he would do that.
Okay. But like hypothetically, if Ada did want it, he would not take that away from Ada?
Unless he just thought it just was actively harming her and it needed to go for her sake. But if she wanted it and it was benefiting her, he wouldn't take it away, I don't think.
See, but if anything, you're getting exactly to my point. Boruto and Ada never had the opportunity to even get to be close in the first place. And he wants to do what's best for Ada, help her out, even selflessly to the extent of potentially harming himself. This is how he treats strangers.
Exactly.
And then you look at the Shinju and how he's treating them.
And I think it has to do with his selfishness. Shout out Space. Towards the Sasuke aspect.
His cog mindset?
Because his cog mind. No. I think it's the selfishness of wanting to fix his mistake with Sasuke, essentially.
I agree. So I agree that if Sasuke was never captured by Koda and turned into a Shinju, Boruto would hate the Shinju less. But I'm looking at it more than just Sasuke by associating Momoshiki to Otsutsuki to the Shinju. Do you think that Boruto's doing that to any extent, even if it's to a lesser extent than what we're seeing right now?
I don't fully know, obviously. I think there has to be some extent because... Okay, so actually, a side tangent question. So I've done a video on this. Now,
see, like I said, why are we not Boruto's writers? In the past, 30 minutes, we just made the story, 10 times more interesting.
I know, bro. And the thing is, all these concepts that we've discussed throughout this stream,
it's not gonna happen.
That's a lot. We have a few arcs worth of material just from these few ideas we started.
From these 30 minutes worth of back and forth.
On the fly. That's a good place to end stream right there. I do need to go to bed, so that's a good banger way to end. Ikimoto failed, we did not.